Kate, can you hear me?
Yes, hello, Miss Joan.
Hello. Can you see me too, or do I have to do that still?
You still have to add your video, but you don't have to until it's your turn to do your, what's it called? Beautification report. All right, we're about to go live on Facebook. Just a tick. When did they add all these extra permissions? Jeez. Okay, sure. Sure.
Happy birthday, Kate.
Oh,
Happy birthday.
happy birthday.
Thanks for making it public, Melissa. All right, bear with me. Zoom and Facebook Live apparently completely changed their whole interface, so it's taking a little bit longer today. I probably should have read directions or updates. All righty. I feel like, Elishia, you should keep that idea to yourself. All right. We are live. If you are attending this evening via this webinar, welcome. Drop your name in the chat so we know you're here. If there's more than one of you watching together, drop their name as well so they get counted for attendance. If you're watching online, if you have any questions throughout, I'm stealing all of Amanda's thunder as she makes her announcement. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. If we could all please observe just a moment of silence. And then if you would all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, and because somebody said there's no flag, pledge allegiance to the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My dad's flag, former Marine, so comes in handy on my desk a lot. All right, I'm going to kick it off to Amanda. Since I almost started to steal her thunder, I'm going to go ahead and let her give what might be the last virtual meeting info spiel. Take it away.
Thanks, Kate. Yeah, I am hoping this is the last time you'll have to hear me go through this. No, it's painful. So those of you joining us on Zoom, you should have the ability to use a Q&A feature. We ask that if you have any questions throughout any of the presentations or throughout the meeting, you just drop them into the Q&A and we can get to them kind of in an orderly fashion. We will try to answer them as they pertain to whatever we're discussing. So if there's something on your mind and you want to just get it out there, feel free. We just might not address it until the topic comes up or the open body session starts. You can also use the chat feature if you're in Zoom, and you can directly chat with a person. If you need to grab Kate or I, feel free to do that. Just know that that is only going to the panelists or the attendees or whoever you're saying it goes to. And we prefer you not have your questions in there. If you're joining us on Facebook out there, feel free to ask questions via leaving a comment. We will get to them as we can. There's a little bit of a delay, so we might have already moved on, but we'll try to circle the wagons back to answer any of those questions out there on Facebook. For those of you here in Zoom, I've dropped tonight's meeting agenda link and the meeting document. It'll take you to the folder where all the documents are at. I dropped that in the chat. Out on Facebook, those are out in the comments. And I think that's just about everything. The sun is going to be hitting me all sorts of crazy. So I apologize in advance if I'm like moving a lot.
Thank you, Ms. Amanda. I appreciate it. Other thing to be aware of, anything you say in the chat is public record. So we actually started posting the meetings as not only just on the Facebook Live, we also have a YouTube page as well. What I'm doing is I'm dropping all the comments from the chat in the notes of the YouTube video. So if it's said, it's seen. So just so you're aware, it's public record. Everything goes to the city at the end of the year. So just want to put that out there as well. Susan, our treasurer, is unable to be here this evening. There's a couple things we need to shore up on the treasurer's report. We are still absolutely in the black. We actually are getting ready to spend some of our NSP money this year, as well as some other funds I know with beautification and things. So we're looking good financially. As soon as she gets that report out to us, we will share that on our social media and the website as well. So in lieu of that, we're going to move on over to public administration announcements. This evening, we have Lieutenant Gregorio joining us from the the fire department. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. What updates do you have for us from the fire department? Anything we should be aware of? Any runs?
Well, nothing in particular. I figured I'd kind of give you guys an overview of what's been happening the last year or so. Madisonville has seen an explosion of growth. It seems like every time you turn around, there's some new building where there wasn't one a week ago. Obviously, this increases our run volume a little bit, so it's probably a little more common now to see engine 49 cruising the streets. Some of the benefits is we're seeing more hydrants being installed, which obviously gives us better water supply to areas of Madisonville that previously we had difficulty with. I can't even begin to tell you how many new hydrants have been installed, but there's been several, which is just helping us to protect you guys so much better. Response times are improving. We've implemented new dispatch hardware and software, which gets us on the road faster. As you may or may not know, if there's a fire, fire doubles in size roughly every 60 seconds. So the faster we get on the road and get to it, the better chance we have for a favorable outcome. I think Engine 49 made roughly 1,500 responses last year. That's fire, EMS, hazmat, and everything in between. All of our members are happy and healthy. We, like everyone else, we had our little COVID problems, but luckily no one was seriously ill here at the 49s. Sorry, my allergies are killing me today. So with that being said, of course, I'll give you the usual, check the batteries in your smoke detectors and don't play with matches. Do you guys have any questions for me that I could answer?
Well, we're waiting to see if anybody offers up anything in the chat. I do have a question about the light trigger there at Wetzel and Prentice. I know that we've had people ask questions. How come is it working? Is it not working? Sometimes we see it flashing. More often than not, we don't when the truck is coming out for a run. Is there anything as a council we can do to support if it's broken, getting it fixed?
That's an excellent question. And I'm not going to lie to you. I have no idea.
Okay.
Fine. I didn't even know that there was a light trigger there.
That would explain why we don't see it working often. So,
right. But I mean, that's something I'll look into for you. Write that down. Light trigger. And I will, I've got your business card, so I'll get back to you about that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
Amanda, were there any questions online or in the chat for Lieutenant Gregorio this evening?
I do not see any.
Righty. Well, with that being said, and if you'll pardon me, we've got some house business we've got to get squared away. So I'm going to get back to it. I believe you have my email address. So if any questions do pop up, if you guys think of something, please feel free to email me. Hopefully the firehouse will be open to visitors again soon, now that the restrictions are being lifted. When that happens, please feel free to stop by the 49s. If you have a dog, bring him or her. We have treats here for them, and we're all dog people, so.
Well, great. We look forward to it. Well, stay safe out there, and we appreciate everything you do for the neighborhood.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for your support, and please contact us if we can ever be of assistance.
All right. Thank you, sir. Enjoy your night.
Take care.
Thank you. And with that, we're going to transition over into the report from the Cincinnati Police Department. As we transition over to Officer Al Brown and Captain Pettis, I do want to make you all aware there are several ongoing investigations going in our neighborhood. So when it's time for Q&A for both the captain and Officer Brown, if we can keep our questions to general things going on in the neighborhoods, they're not going to be able to offer any specifics to any ongoing cases, any ongoing investigations, and that's to protect everyone in the neighborhood. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Officer Brown and Captain Pettis. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us, Kate. So this report that I'm going to read covers periods from 4/18 to 5/15. So it's a 28-day rolling period. We had 1 aggravated assault. We had 5 burglary/B&Es. We had 7 theft from autos. We had 4 personal/other thefts, and we had 3 auto thefts. So I just want to address a couple issues. So I had some information pulled up. So in the time frame from 2/1/21 to 5/18/21, there were 23 reported theft from autos in Madisonville. However, 12 of the 23 occurred in one location. That's more than 52% of the theft from autos. So I'm not really sure. So when we say that Madisonville is being hit with a barrage of theft from autos, I'm not sure what the interpretation is. But what we're stat driven. So if you know people that are getting their vehicles broke into, then the way that we deal with these numbers is by reporting the offense itself. So I'm not really sure, but I will say that theft from autos is a problem throughout the city. It's a driving force for our numbers. Like I said, we are a stat-driven organization. And there's several things that play a part in it. Drugs being probably the number one. Lack of work. Just people out here just purely want to prey on good people. So we get out here and we try to take preventive measures. The captain can expound on a little bit more, but we've set up some things, PVO, where people have designated times to deal with theft from autos. And I want to say that we do these report cards, and it's when we come around and we check your automobile to see about things that are left in plain sight. These things are not to take anybody off. I know some people have been frustrated with them, but it's a way of just trying to keep everybody on the same page in the way of being concerned about being victimized. So with that being said, I'll let Captain Pettis take the floor.
Okay, good evening, Kate and members of the Community Council. I guess I want to start off by just, if folks have any specific questions, I'll be open to take any questions because I want people to be able to get their questions answered. And if they have specific things that they're concerned about, rather than me just talking about whatever it is I want to say, I want to make sure that the things that people have question about or have an issue with is actually being addressed. So I'll first, I guess, kind of open it up to find out if anyone has any specific questions. And if not, then I can just talk generally, kind of go into a little more detail about some of the things that Officer Brown was just referring to.
I don't see any. Oh, I do have a hand raised. Go ahead, Ann.
Thanks, Kate. Captain, I am concerned, as I'm sure most of the community is, about all the gunfire that continues at Glen Shade, Wiltner, Chandler intersection. we were told at one point in time that that family had moved out, but it's my understanding they moved right back in. Can you give us any update on what the district is doing to reduce the number of shootings at that corner?
Yes, I can give you a plethora of things that the district has done to reduce shootings at that location. So first piece of your question, the family never officially moved out. For a period of time, they were not staying at the residence because of the issues that were going on there. So there was never, an exit from the residence in terms of they no longer lived there. They just weren't staying there for a period of time.
Okay, thank you.
Some of the things that the District 2 has done, we have had an intervention with the family where we had a 3-hour intervention with the family, brought them into District 2, had a lengthy conversation with all of the members of the house. We recommended some things. We also put them in contact with some various partners within the police department and outside of the police department. We also put them in contact with some social service workers. So there's been a number of things done personally to deal, with the family one-on-one. And then there's also the investigative piece, the issues that are going on there. Those are all criminal, and each incident is its own criminal investigation. So I can't get into a whole lot of specific details about the trajectory of the investigation. I don't know who's on this call or who may be listening. So
Yes.
I'm not going to reveal what steps the police are doing to catch the individuals that are doing it. But I can assure you that there are measures being taken, investigative measures, as well as measures taken to work with the family specifically.
And
So
is there any, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I hope that gives you some clarity on your question. But it sounds like you have a follow-up.
I do, thank you. I'm sorry, the beauties of Zooming in COVID. Is there anything that we as a community can do to help support the family that lives there?
Absolutely. I think that when you see things that are out of place or see something that's, out of the norm or out of the ordinary, you can certainly make a point to make a special note of that. If you see strange vehicles, okay, if you can do it surreptitiously without causing attention to yourself, write down the license plate number.
Okay.
Now, and again, I'm saying I don't want you to put yourself in a situation where you are becoming some kind of target because somebody saw you writing down a license plate. But if it's just a matter of I can look out my front, window and just write it down and go back in the house, okay, then that's not something that's going to be intrusive or is going to call attention to yourself. If you see or hear something going on, obviously call the police, call 911. But anything further than that, I think the police are always at a disadvantage because generally, if we don't have eyes and ears on a situation as it's happening, we're always playing catch up because we're always trying to catch up to the information. But if people, have the information, then we're that much farther ahead. The information is power. The person that controls the information controls the game. So as much information as we have, that makes us that much more effective. And so I'm just saying that if you see things, if you hear things, I know a lot of folks invest in surveillance equipment, Ring doorbell cameras, all of that stuff is very effective for information for the police to have when we're attempting to identify people, vehicles, situations, that type of thing. So that's the best way the community can be of assistance is be the gatekeepers of the information and then get that information into the hands of the police.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any further questions for me?
Amanda, were there any questions online or in the chat? I know we do have one gentleman who had wanted to know some specifics about an incident that occurred earlier this winter. Captain Pettis, I've actually asked him to forward me the information so I can relay that to you, so we can get those specifics. He didn't want to put it out there. So we'll follow up with him offline.
Okay.
Amanda, was there anything else that we can address?
We did just get one other comment in on Facebook. Sorry, I'm reading this as I'm trying to say it. So this is from Mary. How do you handle officers explaining to citizens that this is summer in Madisonville when they try to express what they saw of a gunshot incident? How do you feel that makes the community feel?
I don't think I really understand the question. Can you read that again? It's that's a really long question.
I think what they're saying is they've heard officers before try to write off what's happening in Madisonville as that's just the summertime in Madisonville, and summertime crime goes up. And there's some feelings, that the community has about getting that type of response.
Well, there is some truth to that. I mean, it's common knowledge that as the summer months, are approaching, we do typically see a spike in crime, and that's not only in Madisonville, that's across the city. In some of our hotspot areas, that's not a new phenomenon. That's a quite regular phenomenon. As the weather gets warmer, you typically see a spike in crime across, several different locations. So that's not uncommon. However, I don't think that is an excuse to say, well, it's getting warm outside, so that's just to be expected. It is what it is. Well, no, that's not the appropriate response or the appropriate attitude. Yes, that is to be expected, but it's also to be expected with the approaching of the summer months. And because we can anticipate that there's going to be a spike in crime, then we naturally put mechanisms in place to account for that. So if you're going to have a spike in crime in certain areas, or that's typical, then we would do things like, okay, you would put a task force out, or you would put officers out in an area to do directed patrols or increased enforcement in a particular area. Because it's coming, you can plan for it. So it's not this apathetic attitude, or shouldn't be an apathetic attitude of, oh, that just is what it is. That always happens in the summer. Well, that's not the right attitude to have, but there is truth in that statement. So that's how I feel about officers that would say something like that, although I'm not aware that that's somebody's perception or somebody's opinion. But is everyone hearing the same thing I'm hearing? Hello?
I actually thought it was something where you were.
No, I'm in a car sitting in the gas station. So I don't, you can't tell where that was coming from?
I can't. I actually just muted everybody that wasn't previously on mute. So
I mean, I heard all that. I don't know if it was a recording, if that was a real time event, but I thought that I guess when you can see it reflects who the person is that's speaking, but I guess you couldn't see that.
I've got 20 panelists right now across a thing on my screen. Unfortunately, I went ahead and I didn't realize everyone was not muted. Oh, Officer Brown apparently is not. Thank you, Elishia.
You said Officer Brown was not.
Yep. There we go. I'm sorry. Go ahead and continue. Looks like there's another. Other communities, Pleasant Ridge, Top of the Mind, have neighborhood watches, street watch, good guy loitering, etc. Is this effective in combating crime?
I think it depends on the extent of how organized and how involved the community group is. Effectiveness depends on, you know, what are the activities you're engaging in. If you have a more active block watch or a more active community group, then they're probably going to be more effective than one that just gets together and has meetings and has discussions, but there's no real teeth or there's no real proactive strategy for how we're going to work together to combat whatever the problems and issues are. So I certainly think that block watch is and can be effective. It can be as effective as the people who participate.
Thank you. Amanda, any other questions online?
There was a comment, sorry, I was trying to catch up on Facebook's comments. There was a comment from Lisa out on Facebook that she's concerned about the dangerous traffic behavior on Bramble Avenue, just a lot of speeding, and she doesn't feel that CPD is monitoring that.
I will actually let, if Al Brown is still on the call, he can talk about some of the efforts that the neighborhood liaison unit has done down in that area, some of the things that they've done to monitor the traffic on Bramble.
Yes, Captain, I'm still on the air. So I do directed patrols, and I've had this conversation with Kate, but 3 of the main strips that are problem childs for Madisonville is Bramble, Row, and Madison Road, because there's very little stopping in between there. But every day I make a point that I visit all 3 of those boroughs, reference monitoring the speed for traffic enforcement. So I'll keep that up, and I try to pass the word along to the second shift guys as well that comes on after me, because we'll catch rush hour traffic going the opposite direction, going back home. So in the morning, I try to catch it coming inbound. In the evenings, you know, trying to give this information to the second shift that they can catch them maybe going outbound. But those 3 strips of roadway there have been trouble for quite a while. Even Plainville at some point, however, they've been adding stop signs, and that's really been a great help on the Plainville side.
And to piggyback off of that, Officer Brown, thank you. And not to steal too much of Carrie Debris Thunder, who's our transportation chair. I know he's actually going to be speaking to some things that he's working on with Department of Transportation and Engineering from that end as well, to work on some of that street calming as well. So we'll let him talk to that here when he does his report shortly. We've got a comment from Mike. He said, first, a big thanks to the rec employees for cleaning the parks during the 80s, for cleaning the parks. Then during the 80s, the parks, police, maybe District 2 need to have officers designated just for patrolling the parks. Is that something, I guess, to piggyback off that question, that can be regularly done, not just for Bramble Park, but for our park at the CRC, our park off of Desmond? We've got several pocket parks throughout our neighborhood, just to ensure things that we can do as a community to ensure that those spaces remain safe.
Okay, was that a question for a particular person? Or I can
Either you, Captain, or Officer Brown, if there's anything, like I said, is from the police department perspective, is there additional patrols that could be done to our parks, or is there additional things as a community that we can do to ensure the safe space?
there's always, I guess, additional things that can be done. It's just a matter of sitting down and getting in a room with the invested parties and coming up with a strategy or a plan for doing so. So yeah, there's always things that can be done.
Amanda, any other questions online or in the chat for either Officer Brown or Captain Pettis this evening?
I do not have any, but are both of you all right if I share your phone numbers that you've shared with us before? Just repost that out there for people. Is that all right?
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, if there are no further questions, we appreciate your time this evening. If people have any other questions after the fact, please drop them in the chat or online, and we'll be sure to get those questions over to District 2 so we can get answers back. Again, we appreciate both your time this evening, and stay safe out there, and we appreciate everything you're doing for the
Okay, thank you,
neighborhood.
Kate. You're very welcome. And please let us know if anything else you need or any additional things we can do to facilitate, help you guys out. And as always, you have my contact information, email. You're more than welcome to share that with anyone that needs it.
All right, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Kate.
All right, and with that, we're going to go into announcements from our schools. Kicking it off for John P. Parker is Ms. Knox. Ms. Knox, the floor
Well,
is
thank
yours.
you. Good evening, Madisonville. I am so happy to be here. As I promised you last month, I was going to share with you our Summer Scholars Program. But I first want to say thank you to Artsville, Kathy Garrison, who hosted our Read Across Madisonville event last Thursday. It was a great time. Although we had to adjust to the health crisis, it still went to capacity. And I think one of our lead partners with Read Across Madisonville is on Meek and Nicole Chambers with Rising Stars. So I just wanted to give a big shout out for that. It was a really good time, and it was really awesome coming together as a collective. So thank you for that. Let me do something else really quickly. We are relaunching. Can you see these? Yes, you
Yes.
can see this. So we are relaunching our campaign as John P. Parker is the neighborhood school. We have door magnets. We also have car magnets. We also have yard signs for folks, and I'm sure that you are starting to see them popcorn up throughout the community. We will continue with our literacy corners in the businesses. There's so many new businesses. We're also putting together some welcome boxes. So we're really happy about that. Enrollment continues to grow. We have 242 learners that will participate in the summer session, which runs June 2nd through June 30th. The morning part is academic, the afternoon. I am proud to share with you Side Streams, School of Rock, Weed and Seed, Lala's, Meek, EJ Bakes, all Madisonville will support our learners. Tool Bank is supporting us with tents and other materials that we may need. We have STEAM builders that will address some collectiveness and strength discussions with our learners. We will take a deep dive into some of the trauma that we are learning and experiencing as the kids come back together. M6 will work with our 3rd and 4th graders, and they will understand storytelling and author a book, which we will have published and we will present to the community in August. We have Children's Theater coming. We have First Generation. Mr. Williams, I see, is on this call from Schroeder. We are addressing transition to high school and leadership and self-discipline. We have Band and a Bus coming. We have Street Pops, which will explore how you develop a flavor profile. We have fitness coming, Parker Kids Club coming, scouting. It's going to be a full menu of who we are, and then offering tools for the kids as they move on into the summer season and then that return back to the learning environment. So we're really excited. We're excited that we were able to embrace more local Madisonville organizations to join us this summer. So we're proud of what we're going to be able to share with them. So thank you. If you want a yard sign or a magnet or a decal, just call the school. We have them ready.
Thank you, Ms. Knox. Were there any questions for Ms. Knox? I see a hand up. Now I have to find the hand. Go ahead, Ann.
Thank you very much, Ms. Knox. It was great seeing you at Artsville, and it was great seeing all the turnout there. Proud of the work y'all are doing. I have 2 gardening questions. One has to do with the trees that are along Medpace Way. They are all dead, and was wondering if there is any plan to replace them or at least remove the dead trees. And then the other had to do with Give Back Cincinnati and their wonderful work in bringing gardening back to the school. I thought that work was going to be done by Medpace. Did perhaps Medpace fund it, but Give Back did the work? How did that work out? That's all my questions.
To answer your first question, those trees belong to the city of Cincinnati, not to Cincinnati Public Schools. So that is a city issue that as the community, you all can address. The Give Back Cincinnati program was not funded by Medpace, to my understanding. That I have no idea what or how you are putting that together. I don't know. What I do know is that this was a discussion with one of our teaching staff and her therapist, physical therapist, who said, I can do this. And so it is a rebirthing of the gardens, because when we partnered with Teaching Gardens, the gardens were 3 years in and needed to be rotated and built up. So as we're learning how to maintain and produce a harvest, we needed to rebuild the garden. So it's a rebirthing of that space. We added color just because, we could, and we're excited about it. And Side Streams coming on board this summer is going to help us understand and take a deeper dive into what can happen now that the garden, this physical space has been addressed.
Thank you, Ms. Knox. Ann's got another question.
No,
Go ahead.
well, it's not another question. It's just to say thank you, Ms. Knox, for that information. How I connected the Medpace funding the gardens was part of their original, dealings with the school and the making Medpace Way.
No, Medpace did not have anything to do with our garden.
Not the garden, the funding of the garden. They were supposed to put in a soccer field.
The soccer field is there, but not the gardens. The soccer field's there.
Okay.
The gardens were up before Medpace offered their gift.
Gotcha. And then Kate, are you going to follow up, or will you please follow up with the city about those trees?
That is part of the public right of way. So I will actually redirect that to Carrie, who's our transportation chair, because he'll deal with all public right of way issues. So I'll make sure that gets followed up on.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sarah, you had a question? I saw your hand up. Oh. I think I lost her.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I also just put my question in the chat. Hi, Ms. Knox. I was going to ask a follow-up question on the soccer field. I haven't seen any goalposts there. Are the goalposts up? And are the line markers on the field?
Due to the health crisis, Sarah, the field has not been used. So you
I know,
won't
but
see
like,
that equipment out there.
oh,
We
so
are
they're
not
not permanent?
renting or reserving any space right now.
So there were not permanent goalposts installed?
No, Sarah, there were not.
Okay, just asking. That's all. Thank you.
Were there any other questions online or in the chat for Ms. Knox, Amanda?
Nope, that looks to be it.
All right, well, thank you, Ms. Knox. We appreciate your time this evening.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
You too. We're going to turn it over to, we've got a special guest today. Principal Williams is here. I'm putting him on the spot. Welcome.
Hello, hello. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Great information shared by Ms. Knox, and JP Park is always doing some wonderful things with kids over in the community. So Schroeder, yesterday we had our class of 2021 graduation. We had 74 actually receiving diplomas. We had a few kids that are going to go into the Project Search program, which really helps them out with life skills and job skills. So they have to do that for a year. Then they get their diploma after that. And we have one of our young people, he'll go to summer school and graduate in August. So other than that, that was a pretty successful graduation. It was, of course, during this pandemic time, pretty trying to get all the kids motivated, but we got them there. So that was great. And like JP, we'll do a summer scholars as well. And so our summer scholars will focus mainly on our 7th and 8th for summer scholars. And then we'll also do credit recovery piece for our 9 through 12. So we're looking at, pretty close to about 400 kids in the building until June. And then in July, there is an enrichment component, which will take place at a couple of different high schools. And Schroeder's not one of the locations for the enrichment. And I know we do have a vaccine set up for the 24th for that group that's 12 and up. And so that will start at 8:30 in the morning, go to 3:45. And we'll try to hit, of course, our students in the building, but any other CPS kids 12 and up are welcome to come and get a vaccine. Other than that, things are going pretty good. Our numbers pretty much stayed the same. We had some kids that transitioned over to virtual, to the digital academy, and we had a few that remained on remote for the year. But for the most part, we're looking for everyone to be back in the fall. There are some options for some remotes if some families still wanted to take advantage of it. If everything is not open back up in the world, well, hopefully that it will be. Other than that, Schroeder's doing fine. If you know anybody, I'm sending this out to the community. We are still looking to fill a few teacher vacancies. We're looking for an art teacher. We're looking for a math and then an English as well. So if you know anyone out there that's in education and seeking a full-time teaching position, of course they will go through HR, and then they can also get in touch with me as far as dropping me their resumes and whatnot, but it still will go through HR, but I would interview them. Are there any questions about anything?
I have a question for you. And you have to do it right now, but if you would be so kind as to drop your email contact information in the chat, that way we can share it online if anyone is interested in those positions. Second, congratulations to all the graduates. I know it's been a tough year, but I know that the school has pushed through, so that's outstanding. Third, and I know Ms. Tony and Indy, our education chair, have both reached out to Ms. Wilder, but if you have any young people that are looking for volunteer opportunities, send them our way. We've got volunteer opportunities all summer long, both paid and unpaid here in Madisonville.
All right, thank you very much. I'll do that. I'll drop my information, and then feel free to share that information in an email. And good to see you, Ms. Tanks, out there, still doing her thing.
Yes, she is. Any questions, Amanda, for Principal Williams, either online or in the chat? There are not. You got off easy today.
Thank you.
Well, as always, we appreciate you. We appreciate you
Thank you.
joining us. You're welcome. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Citizens of the World School. We've got a couple of introductions this evening from people on the Citizens of the World team. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Vanity. Who are you going to introduce
I'm going to
first?
introduce Deanna. Ashley actually couldn't join us. She had to go to the dentist today and her mouth is just still a little sore. So it'll just be Deanna. But hi, everybody. Good evening. It's great to be back with you all. We are gearing up for summer of finishing touches on the school, making sure that everything is ready for students when they come in August. We're really excited about that. We are still enrolling kindergarten and first graders. So if you know anyone that's interested in our model, we're always happy and excited to talk to them about joining our school if it makes sense. We are also doing COVID testing at our school. So on Mondays from 8 to 12, we're doing COVID testing. And then on Tuesdays from 2 to 6, we have COVID testing. Hopefully folks are able to get the vaccine, but we know for children, the vaccine isn't accessible yet. And so we wanted to make sure that we had testing available if possible. So you can find out more information on our Instagram or on our website about testing if that is something that you need. We also are still hiring for a couple of teachers. So if you know anyone, we would love to talk with them and see if they would be a great fit for our school. And then we're gearing up for a lot of collaboration over the summer with the wonderful Madisonville Library and with some other events happening in the community. And so we'll be posting about those on our website and on our social media. And with that, I am going to pass it to Deanna Watson, who is our wonderful Director of Family Engagement. She's currently finishing her last year of teaching and leaving the classroom to come join us. And we're so grateful to have her on the team. So I will pass it to her to introduce herself.
Good evening, everyone. As Vanity said, I'm Deanna, also D, that's fine too. This is my last, well, next week is my last week, so that's a bit emotional. My kids taught me how to use TikTok today, so that was an accomplishment. I'm very I'm very excited to be coming to Madisonville and returning to Cincinnati. You know, community collaboration and partnership are two of my love languages. So I'm very excited to collaborate in the community, build partnerships. I'm excited about what's happening at Bramble Park. So I'm just excited for the summer because I think there will be a lot of great opportunities to host events and be a part of events. So thank you again for having me and letting me take up space.
Thank you both, ladies. Were there any questions for Citizens of the World this evening, either online or in the chat or in the Q&A?
Don't see any.
All right, well, thank you both, ladies. We look forward to seeing you out and about this summer. All right, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Jenna Bradley, who is here. Hello, Ms. Jenna. She's got an announcement from the United Way of Greater Cincinnati. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Janae Bradley, Senior Manager of Community Impact at the United Way of Greater Cincinnati. I'm here today to talk about a program that we started last year that we're opening again this year, which is Black Empowerment Works. So Black Empowerment Works is a grants and supports program that seeks to invest in community-based Black-led ideas, organizations, projects that seek to build positive outcomes in communities. In the last year, when we first launched it, thanks to a group of volunteers that helped to design it, we invested in 28 organizations and a total of $600,000. And this year, we're excited to invest in some more. So I'm going to hopefully, I was going to share my screen. It doesn't allow me to, but that's okay. I'll give a couple of details about the project. So there are two opportunities that are available. The first is to apply for grant funds. So grants will range from $2,500 to $25,000. You do not have to be a nonprofit organization to apply. So it's open to nonprofits, for-profit social enterprises, community coalitions, individuals, with the basic eligibility requirements being that the organization is Black-led, community-based, and seeking to build positive outcomes. And I will share my screen now, and you'll be able to see the website. So on our website, uwgc.org/BEW apply, you'll see all of the great details. So we have an information session actually tomorrow from 11 to 12:30 if you have some additional questions, but we also have lots of materials available on our website. So as I mentioned, open to different sorts of organizations, ideas, whether it's something or a project that you've been working on for decades, or an idea that has been in your heart that you've wanted to bring to fruition. All of that is eligible. You'll see all of the eligibility information on the screen, and you can read it for yourself when you visit our website. We have a detailed information packet with lots of answers to questions for people interested in being a grant applicant. And that deadline to apply for the grants is July 8th. The second opportunity is to apply to be a reviewer. So one of the cool parts about this program is that community members make the investment decisions. So we bring together a group of community volunteers that will read through the applications, have conversations with the prospective grantees, and determine who they would like to invest in for that year. You do not need any sort of prior experience to be a reviewer. What we feel makes a good reviewer is somebody who's an active listener, empathetic and relatable, active in their communities, passionate about advancing the well-being of Black folks, and able to commit to fully participating in the process, including some training, reviewing the applications, meeting with grantees. And that big program window is from June 18th to August 24th. And the responsibilities are spread out in that opportunity. Deadline to apply to be a reviewer is June 18th at 5 p.m. Also on the site, you'll see the details of the application process. So we launch the applications on May 10th. We'll make the investment decisions and communicate them out at the end of August. At the bottom of the page, you'll find lots of additional details, including registration for the information sessions, how to reach us by email or by phone. And we also have the opportunity for people interested in applying for a grant or to be a reviewer to schedule dedicated one-on-one time with us for 30 minutes to either talk through your idea, get some support in navigating the online application, or what have you. So all that detail can be found at, again, uwgc.org/BEW apply. And I'm always happy to answer any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Janae. Were there any questions for Ms. Janae, either online or in the chat? Sounds like it's an amazing program. So I'm looking forward to see what Madisonville is going to submit.
I do not have any questions out here.
That means you did an amazing job. All right, if there are any questions, I know Amanda has shared the information online. So if they have any questions, we've got the information out there, and we'll be sure to get it on social media as well. Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Janae. We appreciate you stopping in this evening.
Anytime.
And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Terry from the Cincinnati and Hamilton County Public Library. Floor is yours, sir.
Hey, thanks, Kate. I don't have too many updates. First, I want to say that we had our recent community listening session or feedback session earlier this week. And we had a great turnout. I want to say we had about 25 community members, which is good considering we are all experiencing Zoom overload, and kind of, I think we're ready to get back to meeting in person. But 25 was good, so we got a lot of good feedback. And looking at next week, we plan to have a smaller kind of focus group with some of the small businesses and nonprofits in the area. But I wanted to give you guys a heads up. I've been putting out the timeline for people. Hopefully you guys have seen it on Nextdoor. I will make sure, I think Amanda, you might have it if I recall, but give you guys an idea. So right now we're currently in the planning phase of our new build. So that means like, what is the functionality of our space? How are people going to be using it? Which is why we're having some of these engagement sessions. And then looking about, about June or so, we'll begin that schematic design phase. And then starting, I think it's in August, no specific date, but that's when we'll have sort of a design reveal that we'll be able to present to the community. So we're looking forward to that. But as far as that, that is all I have in terms of the project. Hopefully you guys have been able to attend. If not, the recording will be made available here on this website. I looked and it's not there just yet. Just put it in the chat. You can also email me directly and I'll make sure you get a copy of that. And then on that same website, there's a form at the bottom of the page so you guys can provide additional feedback regarding the project. And aside from that, we have just kind of gearing up for the summer. We got some activities indoor and outdoor planned for the summer, as well as contributing with Tuesdays in the park, which you guys will hear, I think, a little bit later. That is all I have. Any questions?
I don't see any out there.
I'm talking, you can't hear me. Amanda, were there any questions online or in the chat?
No, there are not.
Okay, too many buttons this evening. All right, Tara, we appreciate it. Always good to see you. As soon as that information comes out, we'll be looking for it. We'll get it posted and share it again as well.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our public administration announcements. Don't have much in the way of the president's report, just a couple of updates. For Red Sesame, for those of you that remember, Red Sesame had applied for a zone change and a letter of support this time last year, actually. That finally went through, was voted on unanimously by City Council a week and a half ago. So we look forward to Red Sesame opening soon here shortly. If you haven't noticed, be sure to take a look at the progress going on Wetzel. Just a couple of doors down from the library. Definitely a team effort to get everyone involved to get that push through City Council. So congratulations to BJ and the Red Sesame team. We have been invited to present before the City of Cincinnati's Neighborhoods Committee on May 24th, this coming Monday at 11 o'clock. So we'll be sharing that on social media as well. So just a great opportunity to just talk up Madisonville, everything that's going on, putting some information out there in terms of what we'd like to see for Vision Zero budget, for city, anything city related that can affect Madisonville. So Terry Henry from the Business Chamber and Elishia Chamberlain from the Executive Director of MCURC will also be joining me in that presentation this coming Monday. We've had people clamoring for in-person meetings. Tentatively, we are looking at going back in person in June. We're not sure what that's going to look like. We will keep you posted. The venue would remain the same, being our third Thursday of the month at the CRC. We'll work with Brian Cervisi at the CRC to determine if it's going to be inside, outside, and as always, we'll adhere to whatever the state protocols are at that time. Our goal is to continue to live stream it via Zoom, just so that people that aren't able to attend in person have the opportunity to view it either at home, during the meeting when it's going live, or at their leisure at a later date and time. A lot of people I know love to watch this Saturday mornings. So we'll keep you posted as that arises. Any questions before I move on from there? And hand up. Gotta find it. Yes, Ann.
Kate, I have, and several others have been looking for minutes on our website, on the Our Madisonville website, and haven't been able to locate minutes for at least certainly in 2021. Are those not being posted anymore, or are they located somewhere else?
I will be very honest with you, Ann, we do not have a secretary at this point in time. If anybody's interested in being secretary, please have them contact myself or Charlie Foster. I have not had the time or the bandwidth to sit down and watch the meetings and go back and pull all the minutes. I will do that here in the next couple of months this summer, and pull all that out there. We are posting the meetings. They're out there on live stream. We have actually posted the YouTube on our YouTube channel as well. I noticed today that closed caption is on, which tells me that it should actually be very easy to pull the closed caption transcript from the Zoom webinar. So I'll be looking into doing that and then pulling the minutes from that as well, because we are required to post those every year with the city of Cincinnati because it's public record. So that will be done here before the end of the year, as soon as I have time to do it or we get a secretary. Ms. Sophie, you had a question?
Opportunity maybe. Is there any kind of internship opportunity to log those minutes for you? Is that something that a student could do? Someone in communications, or who knows, someone in high school needs volunteer hours?
I would absolutely appreciate that. Do you know of anybody? Are you recommending someone?
I don't. It just occurred to me. So maybe somebody out in Madisonville would have an idea.
If anyone is interested in the legal field and wants to understand what it's like to do hours and hours of transcription and data research, this would be the perfect, seriously, this would be the perfect opportunity to do so. It was actually one of my first internships when I was in high school. So no, that's honestly, Sophia, that's a great idea. Thank you for recommending that. So I will pass that along to Principal Williams. I'm not sure if he's still on this evening, but if there are any young people that are looking for service hours that want to watch 2.5 hours worth of meetings and transpose them, that would be great. That's a great suggestion. Thank you. And Charlie just offered to coordinate with the transcriber. Thank you, Charlie. Amanda, were there any other questions online or in the chat about anything I just talked about before we move on?
It looks like Elishia just posted a question in the chat. Elishia, do you want to come off mute?
What's the question?
Basically, I was just wondering, so we approve minutes and we just haven't been approving them for over a year?
We haven't approved minutes.
Like, I guess what I'm asking is, prior to COVID, did we approve minutes every month, like vote?
Prior to COVID, we had a secretary. We did approve minutes every month.
Okay.
Any other questions online or in the chat before we move forward?
I do not see any.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to committee reports. I'm still actually putting the motion in the poll, so I'm actually going to flip it over to Joan to do a beautification. As soon as I find Joan to pin her. There she is. There you
Can
go.
you hear me?
The floor is yours.
Okay. We have had a pretty full few months with beautification. Just a quick report for you. Way back in April, Saturday, April 10th, Alex Smith organized Keep Cincinnati Volunteers, and we added beautification members. We weeded the Murray Triangle, which could use it again. We weeded Erie Median, which could use it again. And we worked on Roe Park. Then last Saturday, May 15th, I don't know if you've noticed, but the north wall of the railroad underpass is now painted blue again. Last year, the bees were on there and it was painted with kind of an ugly gray by the city. So we had 9 volunteers who came out and we painted that wall blue. There was some interest with some of the volunteers in moving forward on finishing that wall. Way back 4 years ago when we did the south wall, we ran out of time and funds and energy, frankly, to go ahead and work on the north wall. So I think this year we'll probably try and bring that up again. My plan is to talk to James Billiter, the artist, and see if he's interested in finishing up and then have the community come and help us paint. and or organizing a group of those people who are interested in contributing to what will be on the wall. But that probably won't happen till sometime in July would be my guess. But we'd like to get something on there. James' artwork originally was a beautifully written Madisonville in kind of old-timey 1800s script. Kind of matched the historical timeline from on the other side. So I still think that's beautiful, but we'll have some discussion about it before anything moves forward. Third, we've got and Tony may talk more about this, but on June 12th, which is our next work day, we're going to be putting plants in the non-city planted pots, like those 5 at Bramble Park, which look pretty bare right now. We're waiting. The person who donates plants to us won't be ready to give us plants until June, and then we'll get them in. So we'll have some beautiful pots again. Curb appeal nominations. We're going to begin to take nominations beginning June 1st. Hopefully that'll be in the newsletter and MCURC's monthly newsletter as well through June 18th. Michelle Barker has agreed to chair the event again this year. So we'll get some curb appeal nominations in. Once the winner is decided, we'll announce it at our garden tour. Sophia Helms is going to organize the garden tour this year, and we haven't had that for quite a few years, so we're really excited about it. All 11 people that Sophia has contacted so far said very enthusiastically, yes, we want to be on the garden tour. So I think it shows that people have been really working in their yards this COVID year. They're ready to show it. They're ready to have people come through their yards. But that'll be Sunday, June 27th from 12 to 4. You'll register and pick up a map and program at Roe Park. And there'll be more of that in both the MCURC newsletter, probably via email, and also in the printed newsletter when it comes out. Finally, our next meeting will be Wednesday, June 2nd at 6 o'clock. We will probably be live. I don't see any reason for those who are fully vaccinated that we can't have a live meeting. And that may be at my house. I don't know yet. But if you are interested in joining that, if you are interested in nominating somebody for Curb Appeal Award, please email me at beautification@ourmadisonville.com. And I think that's it for me, Kate.
We've got one question.
Okay.
Mr. Capister, the floor is yours.
Okay, my question is, I don't know whether, Joan, you encounter any of this, but about 25 years ago, when I was with a community group that painted over graffiti underneath the railroad bridges, the railroad companies filed a cease and desist order with the city, and that we were not allowed to do anything with regard to those walls because those walls belong to the railroads. And so I wondered what has changed with that, because although we had lots of volunteers that come out to help paint the graffiti when it was happening then, we were given very clear orders through the city and through the railroad that it's not city property, that it was railroad property, and we were not allowed to do any more painting on those properties.
I ran into that a little bit in 2017 when we first got the grant to paint the thing. Talked to the railroad at that time. Their concern was an insurance one, a liability on their part. We came to an agreement back in 2017, and no one has stopped us since.
Good.
How's that for an answer?
That's good.
Thank you, Mr. Capister. Any other questions for Joan, Amanda, either online or in the chat?
Nope.
Nope. All right, Ms. Joan, you are
Thank you.
off the hook. You're welcome. Real quickly, back to Arts and Recs. Stephanie's actually juggling all things mom right now. But we are working heavily to get the Tuesdays in the Park schedule out. That should actually be out this weekend. We've got some great partners this year: MCURC, CRC, Artsville, Business Chamber is going to be helping out. I'm missing someone, the library, of course, as well as Cincinnati Park Board. So very excited about Tuesdays in the Park this year. None of that can happen without community support and allocation of funds, both from fundraising and from the NSP. So we'd like to put forth 2 motions this evening. One to basically just spend the previously allocated NSP funds that were previously allocated for Tuesdays in the Park to be used for a petting zoo. And the other motion would be to allocate the funds from the Madisonville PIN fundraiser to be used for a Shakespeare in the Park performance, and then any giveaways that we're doing for the kids this summer. So if someone would like to make a motion to allocate that spending, Alex put his hand up first. Mr. Capicer is second. We'll go ahead and open it up for any discussion or any questions. I'm going to put both your hands down in case you have questions later. Hold on. Are there any questions about those expenditures or Tuesdays in the Park in general? That was easy. I love when there's no questions. I'll go ahead and launch the first poll. First question specific to NSP funding. So this is a motion to approve previously allocated NSP funds for Tuesdays in the Park expenditure to include payment for petting zoo and giveaways. If you are a member of the community council, you're eligible to vote, so keep that in mind. While that poll is up, I'm going to turn it over to Kerry Devery, our transportation chair, to give his update.
All right, thank you. We have some service announcements from SORTA. Tomorrow is National Bike to Work Day. And so if you take a bus ride with your bike, you get free fare. This weekend, Saturday and Sunday, it's going to be free all weekend for support of the mass vaccination event again. So that's something that everybody can take advantage of regardless of whether or not you're going to get vaccinated. And most importantly, on May 30th, so 10 days from now, it's a Sunday, Metro is instituting their first service improvements as part of the Reinventing Metro plan. And so what they're doing, they only have enough funds so far for built up just to increase service on a couple of the busiest routes and popular routes, which includes Madisonville's number 11. So what that means is the frequency isn't changing. However, it will run more often. So it will actually be 24/7, 365. So there won't be a separate weekend schedule. The Monday through Friday schedule will be the standard schedule all year round, and it will run at night as well. So it gives people a lot more options, but let me know if you are an impacted rider to see how that impacts you, or if you're a homeowner, if you live nearby one of the routes, let me know how that works out for you guys. Moving forward, I'm planning to have like a bike safety ride next month. So mark your calendar for June 26th, so probably the morning. And I've been kind of scouting out some bike rides. Just that way we can kind of bike around the neighborhood, see what it's like for people trying to bike around the neighborhood, just how access and safety works for other people in other parts of the neighborhood, see what kind of limitations that are out there, that kind of thing, and kind of a social event as well. And so kind of plan the route to prioritize safety first and foremost. But there are like some incline spots our neighborhood has that's kind of tricky. So that might slow it down a little bit. But the goal is to be about half an hour and meet at Bramble Park. So the big thing that I'm working on right now, though, is a giant list of requests, because we get lots of great feedback from everybody in the neighborhood with these traffic safety improvements.
Don't lock the door.
And those include, so the whole gamut of feedback that we've been getting. I've been reporting on social media and emails as well, and from our website. So keep sending that stuff in. The goal here is that next week for my community meeting on Thursday at 6:30, it's going to be online, and I'm going to have like a presentation to talk about all the feedback that we've gotten, because I've created essentially a report that I'm going to send to the Cincinnati that collects everybody's requests and specifically asks for essentially a written response from the city. To be honest, like the biggest challenge is financial. I've been getting a lot of good feedback from city staff that they're supportive of making everything safer, you know, so like adding speed humps and stuff like that. They want to do it. But to be honest, the traffic calming budget hasn't been funded since 2018. So that's why speed humps all of a sudden just stopped getting set up across the city. And then 2 years ago, the city set up a vision, it's called Vision Zero budget. And Vision Zero is basically pedestrian and bicycle safety, or it's all traffic safety. And it's the whole goal is to get to zero fatalities and zero major injuries. And so you're prioritizing the design of the streets to be safe first and foremost. When the past century, we've been prioritizing basically speed and capacity of cars. And so that's why, for example, Bramble is as bad as it is. It's perfectly straight, just about, and the speed limit is 35 for a big chunk of it. So that's kind of the list that I'm going to send, but it really kind of depends on the budget, because last year they only gave Vision Zero $750,000, I think it was, which is not much at all. So that goes very fast in a city of 300,000 people and 52 neighborhoods. But yeah, so keep sending my feedback, because that's kind of the goal, is to try to capture as much feedback as possible. And so next week I'll present all of that, and that'll be on Zoom, which is a public link. You'll also be able to watch it on Facebook, and you can send comments in that way as well. And then I'll add more comments to it and update it based on that feedback that I get. And I will present it next month at next general body meeting, so that we can vote on it and actually, as a community council, vote on it and approve it and send it forward to the city. That way they know that this is something that we're serious about. I have also been starting to send up separate requests, because you do have different divisions in the Department of Transportation. And so I asked for Bramble Avenue for the speed limit to be lowered to 25. And the goal here is, try to use that as a test case, because Bramble has the park, the school's opening up. You've got some blind spots because of the elevation changes. So I want to try to see how hard it is, because the city doesn't actually control its own speed limits. If the city wants to lower the speed limit, they have to ask permission from the state first. And so I want to kind of try to learn that process, because we have to basically have to convince somebody at the city to care enough to try, essentially. So that's kind of the attempt there. And I also have a request to get rid of that prohibition of left turns at Bramble onto Plainville, since that is frequently ignored anyways, and might be putting pressure on some side streets as well to cut through traffic. So that's the kind of things that I'm trying to like push buttons on. Move parking on Wetzel, just because of the lack of visibility across from Red Sesame. So stuff like that, small things like that, and trying to see what it'll take to get things fixed and move forward. I think there's some questions. Yeah, so the bike ride will be like about 10 a.m. That way, since it is June, it's gonna be pretty warm. So not too early, not too late. So 10 a.m. is the goal. And I was gonna create a formal announcement that we were gonna send out on social media. And it's the first event, so bear with me with trying to plan it out right and make sure it gets communicated properly.
Hold that thought, Carrie, because Mr. Tim, you had your hand up. Did you have another question besides the bike ride time? I just want to make sure we don't skip you, because you've had your hand up for a while.
Thanks.
Mr. Tim, you there?
That finger.
Did you have another question besides the bike ride time?
No, I just wondered if there's a master calendar that events like this are posted on.
There is, we post them in the quarterly newsletter, and then we're gonna have a master calendar with everything that's coming up for this summer that we're gonna get out to everybody as well.
There is also a calendar on our website under the event section. So it's just a Google Calendar. You can even sync it up if you've got Google Calendar to your own Google Calendar. I try to keep the events up there as soon as I get kind of the firm details around them. I usually get them up there, but yeah, definitely all over our social media, that calendar, and like Kate said, our new newsletters.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Alex had a question as well. Go ahead, Alex.
Unmute. Hey, I'm back. Just Carrie and I had spoken about it, so this is sort of just putting it out to sort of the ether, is to hopefully we can put a request in to change the timing of the light at Kenwood and Madison Road at Mad Llama. The Kenwood side is super long. People just cut through the Mad Llama parking lot to make that left turn. That light is timed mostly for Madison Road.
Yep.
So hopefully we can get a request on that.
That'd be awesome. Write that down, Carrie.
Yeah. And that's kind of the unique feedback that I'm looking for, because, I can, sometimes it's pretty obvious that a street, like people are just driving too fast. That's fairly obvious. But, if I don't live or work on your street, some stuff like that might not be noticeable, right? So that's kind of why it takes a village, right, to get this stuff listed and move forward.
Amanda, were there any other questions for Carrie online or in the chat?
I do not see any.
There's one here from Alan from Groundwood, which is he was asking about if the stimulus funds the city received via that will go to Vision Zero, and I don't think so. I have to double check because they've been arguing about that this month. So I don't remember how it got finalized, but I think there was some debate about what money can be spent on infrastructure and whatnot. The mayor's original plan was there wasn't anything specific that would affect our neighborhood. However, there was an announcement about the Oasis Trail, which is along the river. So that would indirectly affect us, since that would be a connection for us in a downtown to walk or bike into downtown from our neighborhood. And there were some like street resurfacing stuff in Oakley that could, we might notice, but those were already regularly scheduled. So that's just shifting money. So unfortunately, so I don't think stimulus funds could be used for infrastructure unless it was directly COVID related in some way. So I think that was a no.
Thanks, Carrie. I appreciate it. All right, we're going to turn it over to Melissa for a quick membership update. But before I do that, the first request for Arts and Rec Pass, 20 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 against. I'm going to launch motion number 2 while we get a quick update from membership.
Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to remind everybody elections are coming up, and the last day to become a member to qualify to run for office is June 17th. And you must have attended 4 meetings prior to the November election. So I just wanted to, give everybody a heads up.
Thanks, Melissa. And you've got a question? Go ahead.
I believe it's the bylaws say 4 meetings in the calendar year. Is that not the 4 meetings directly before the election meeting? Isn't that correct? 4 meetings during the calendar year.
4 meetings during the calendar year. It must be prior to nominations in October. So the October meeting counts, but you can't count the November meeting or the December meeting, if that makes sense.
Right, but like somebody could have attend. I'm not saying this would happen, but somebody attends 4 meetings through today and doesn't attend again. They fulfill the bylaws rule for having attended 4 meetings prior to being nominated.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
That's right. Yes. It's just if you haven't attended any and you're planning on running for office, you've got 5 meetings left. make sure you attend at least 4.
Yes.
Any other questions for Melissa? Alrighty, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Tony for Youth Council. Floor is yours, ma'am. Unmute yourself. Ms. Tony, unmute yourself.
Well, you muted me. I thought you were gonna unmute me. Okay. Hi, everybody. I want to say Youth Council or the Madisonville Youth Committee had a hard time this year, but we were able to finish the project that we chose, which was the greenhouse at the rec center. And the way it's going, that the rec center will be working with kids in the youth council to keep it going. Actually, Brian Shavisi has some more ideas about it, and I think they're great. We actually had a lot more kids graduate again, so our numbers are down. So my goal for this summer, along with summer employment, which we will be talking about probably by January the 1st. I'm putting applications at the rec center. I'll be taking applications to the library and probably to the boutique for either kids or parents to pick up the application for kids 9 and up to work this summer. We actually have $2,500 to spend. We will be working with beautification. We may be working with some businesses in a co-op, and we're also going to be painting the chess parks, and I'm hoping Alex is going to let us paint his tables if he needs them painted, or polyurethane, however that'll work out. But my goal now is to try and rebuild MYCC. I'm actually down to 6 kids, and hopefully from the kids that volunteer or that work in the summer, I can glean some of those kids to come into the program. This summer on the 26th, our community school, Lighthouse, has a graduation on the 26th. They have three people who are graduating. Since it's become a CPS school, I serve as the LSDMC chair, and Indy serves as for minutes. So we're encouraging people to come out and support the kids. It's at 5 o'clock. If you'd like to support the school, they've really worked hard this year to get the kids to the point of graduation, and I mean it's really a big thing. Those kids are also going to be able to work within the program if they choose to. And like I said, my goal is to raise awareness for kids from 9 and up for the work program and for the Madisonville Youth Community Council. We actually started back our meeting the second Tuesday of this month, and I had 5 kids attend. And we are at the rec center like we were before, because Brian has redone the teen center totally. If anybody hasn't seen it, please go by and take a look. We have a lot of programs planned for the rec center that the kids came up with earlier this year while we were doing social distancing in my backyard. It's coming together real well. I'm looking for other people as volunteers for the youth committee. Please call me or get in touch with me. You at our youth at madisonville.com, or you can call me directly at 513-213-7208. Oh, and I'm joining Kate at the MedPace on Saturday. I'll have applications and things down there if you're interested or want to share that with anybody, so they can come and get the applications. Other than that, I'm hoping we all have a great summer. Can't wait to start working on the summer program.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Tony. Were there any questions for Ms. Tony in the chat? I did see there was one online. Is it 9 years old or 9th grade and up?
No, it's 9 years and up.
9 years
Because
and up.
we're gonna break them up. Some of the older kids should be able to supervise with the adult. So that way we can have 3 to 4 kids in a group. We separate them out so the groups aren't so big as they used to be.
Alex has a question for you.
Yes, Alex.
Not a question, just a accommodation. And we really appreciate Tony's effort with the youth. It's a big heart and it's a big, strong part of this community. So yes, any work at the parks at Madisonville's polyurethane is great for the kids, and hopefully we can get more. But I just wanted to give a shout out to Tony and what she does. It's very important. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Alice. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I do too. You.
Alex, I couldn't agree more. Amanda, were there any questions online?
There are not.
Okay. All right, that ends our, I lost my train of thought that fast. That ends our committee announcements. As Amanda said, be on the lookout for the full list of events coming up. As Ms. Tony mentioned, Community Council will have a table tent at the MedPace Market this Saturday. So if you want to pay your dues, pick up a yard sign, purchase a pin to support Tuesdays in the Park, we will be there and we will happily answer any questions that you may have about community, transportation, anything that's on your mind. With that, I'm going to turn it over to agency announcements. Artsville's up with Ms. Garrison. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. I'm going to, I'll give Artsville's update, but also I think the business chamber, I know Terry is not available this evening. So I'll give that one because we are partnering with them on that. And we'll kind of go from there. Artsville is opening back up. We have never been totally closed, but we are beginning to open our doors up a little more for events and things that are going on as the COVID restrictions begin to lift as well because of our mass space that we have available to us. We are still doing yoga on Tuesdays at 5:45. So if anyone is interested, please stop by or give us a call. We'd love to have you. We do, again, have plenty of space. So no fear of social distancing on that one. We are going to be partnering with the Business Chamber on the 25th from 9:30 till 11:30 or 12, and HealthWorks to COVID vaccines. So if anyone is interested, please either give the chamber a call at 513-375-7741, or you can call and leave a message at Artsville, which is 513-271-0805. And we will get your, because you do have to register to be a part of that process. So I do know they are giving the Moderna. So if anybody is questioning what that might be. We also want to thank JP Parker, as we just did the Read Across America, as Pam indicated, and it was very nice. We had a great turnout of kids and families. So we're always happy to accommodate them when they show up. We are working again with Playhouse in the Park to see if we can't begin. I know they're opening up to some live performances and we'd like to get them back into the building when that's available to us, which is hopefully going to be fall. We just had Arts Wave, who spent 4 weeks in our building creating a mural that the community will get to see in the next few months. It is going to be quite a spectacular sight when they get that up. So we were happy to, again, be a part of that process. We will be entertaining Kappa in the fall. I believe it's August for film camp. The one camp has filled up. We are looking hopefully maybe to do a second camp. So if anyone is interested, please give Artsville a call or Kappa a call. You can leave messages and we'll get back. We're also exploring with a couple of young ladies out of Walnut Hills and Oakley to begin to do salsa in the building, and we're not quite sure what that's going to look like as we've just started those conversations, but that is on our agenda. And then we're also partnering with the Children's Home, with the Height Center with kids with the autism. We are doing, working with them to do art classes, not classes, but art crafts on Thursdays down there with those children, and they're having a ball. So we're happy to do that. I want to make one other announcement. SCAT, for those who have heard about us in the community, it is another nonprofit that gives out scholarships to youth in the community for college and vocational school. We had 4 scholarships available this year. We did not have one child apply, and we are very disappointed. We don't know if it's COVID, because we certainly had it out there at the rec center, at the library, and all the websites. We were pushing this scholarship, and we're disappointed, but we reserve those fundings for next year. So maybe it'll be a bigger scholarship then. So if anybody has any interest or would like more information about those, please let me know, and I can also supply that as well. I think that's kind of all I've got. We've got a lot going on, but we're glad to see COVID kind of lightening up and giving us the opportunity to get more folks back into the building. So thank you, Kate.
Thank you. Any questions online or in the chat?
No.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to Brian with the CRC. Brian, the floor is yours.
All right, so we got some good news. We've been painting the inside of the building. So that drab yellow is gone out of the hallway, out of the room where we meet for our meetings. And we're still working to get it in a few other rooms. So the painters are finishing up. They'll be done probably in the next week or two with just what we're doing. What they're doing now is they're painting the pools when it's nice, and then they're painting the center when it's raining. We've had a lot of rain, so they've got a lot of paint on the wall. So the center will look brighter, cleaner, fresher when you come in. Besides the fact that we've been cleaning for a year and a half, it now has a fresh coat of paint and it'll look real nice. For summer day camp, we have about 1 or 2 spots left. I left today around 4:30, and there was a person that was on the phone. So if they register, we'll have 1 spot left. If not, then we'll have 2 spots. So if you know anybody, we only have 2 spots left for the summer. So sign up now. As far as everything else, our programming is starting to pick up. We're starting to get a lot more people in the building. I would like to see more. I want the building busy from the time we open to the time we close. That's my goal. So come on back. We're ready for you. And the thing you don't want me to say, pool's not probably going to be open. If there's a shortage of hiring all throughout America, we all know that. And lifeguards is no different. Right now, CRC is having a really hard time getting lifeguards trained and hired. There are 13 pools open. I think when I saw the original list, we were 14 or 15. So if we get enough lifeguards hired and then there's more trained and ready to go, we may open in a shorter season, but I'm not looking positively on it. It's kind of out of my hands, and by kind of, I mean totally out of my hands. I want the pool open more than anybody because I'd rather sit at the pool than in my office. That's about it. We'd like to see everybody. Come on back. And anybody got any questions?
Shoot. Can't get...
Any questions online or in the chat? I don't see any here. Amanda?
I don't see any out there.
Well, that was easy.
Thanks. Yeah, I like that.
We appreciate it. With that, we're going to turn it over to Alan with Groundworks.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Awesome. Great. Well, we've got a lot going on at Groundwork. With school kind of wrapping up, we're gearing up for summer. We'll actually be working with Schroeder on their summer scholar program, which is exciting. So we'll be helping them put in some pollinator gardens and a rain garden and some native trees. That'll be happening the middle of June. So we're real excited to be working with Schroeder. And then our youth program, our big summer youth program is kicking off the first week of June. So June 7th, we'll have 10 kids in Madisonville at the Learning Center at Warden Chandler, getting ready to do all sorts of fun and community engaging that I'm just really excited about, since last year was kind of put most of our programming on pause. So that's great. What else do we got going on? Those are kind of the big ones. We're kind of all hands on deck right now, getting ready for our youth program. We'll have, I don't know, I think it's about 80 kids all across the city employed this summer. So we're real busy getting ready for that, but I'm really happy that Madisonville will be a part of that program this year again. And yeah, if anybody's got questions, I'm open to that. Sorry, I don't have my camera on. I've literally been cradling a very fussy baby for like the last hour who is not going to bed.
Those are the things we want to see.
No, you don't. She's been crying. So.
Oh, Alex has a question for you. Go ahead, Alex.
Not a question, but just hopefully we'll engage with the parks, Alan. We got some projects that we could do, but I'm just glad to hear that you got some action going, particularly I think with the Plainville Park at Indian Hill. We can get some native planting in there, but I just want to thank you for your participation too in our community. It's a big hit. It's a big lift. Thank you.
Yeah. And we're more than happy to jump in and help out with pocket parks again this year, and Little Duck Creek, and anywhere where we can. We're down for that. We literally just got done scheduling kind of logistics today for where vans are going to go and which parks we're going to be working in, and all that good stuff. So I'll touch base with you and Joan on the beautification committee. If there's ways we can plug in more than we did last year, we'll find a way to do it, because that was such a great part of the team last year too.
Excellent. And thanks too. I mean, I don't know if the community knows, but you were instrumental in the stairs from Murray Trail down to Bramble. Is that correct?
Yeah. That was one of our young adult programs. So we run a workforce development program, and that was the Green Corps is what they're called. They were out there building that. It's good to finally get it done, and it was right in time for the I think the unveiling or whatever, the kind of PR piece when they were talking about the expansion of Murray Trail into Marymount. So got it done just in time for that.
Yeah, kudos on that. Excellent job. Thank you.
Cool. Oh, and if anybody, it seems like we're looking for teachers and youth employees, so I'll put my plug in. If anyone's interested in working this summer, we still got some spots. I think we've got about 8 of our Madisonville spots filled already. If anyone's got some high schoolers, we've 14 to 18-year-olds who are looking for $11 an hour job, send them my way. I'll be happy to get them all sorted out.
Ann's got a question. Go ahead, Ann.
Thanks. I was wondering about when you anticipate the fresh food market would be able to be open.
Yeah, great question. Thank you. We were planning on starting this week, and the supplier that's Dom, our partner at Brick Gardens, who's been working real closely with us on that, he wasn't able to get the produce in time. So we will be starting. Actually, thank you very much for bringing that up. That was on my notes to bring that up as well. We will be starting with a farm stand next week, Wednesday and Thursday evenings, 4:30 to 7:30 at the corner of Chandler and Ward at the community garden. So yeah, that'll be starting next week. We will have a list of of vegetables that will be available at the beginning of the week, which we'll be putting up on Facebook and Nextdoor for y'all to check out. So if you're looking for fresh produce, come on down. We'll have some stuff for you, and that'll be real exciting. And that will be manned by, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the days and hours?
Absolutely, absolutely. So for right now, while we're getting started, it's going to be Wednesday and Thursday evenings from 4:30 to 7:30. And that will be manned, or it will be, the group that will be working there is a mix of some Brick Garden employees and our youth employees. So the youth employees will start once the youth program kicks off the week of June 7th, but we'll be having a mix of folk until then.
Thank you.
But yeah, that's.
I think Principal Williams has a question.
Sure.
Alan.
Yes, I do. Hey, thank you. Hey, Alan, how you doing? I was wondering if you could get us an announcement to Ms. Wilder on the youth employees. I'm sure there's some young people that would be interested in $11 an hour.
Yeah, and actually, Principal Williams, thanks for bringing that up. Pam Wilder, the resource coordinator at Schroeder, is amazing. She has been working so hard to get the Summer Scholars Program up and running, as I'm sure everybody is at John P. Parker and Schroeder and Lighthouse and all that. It's a big lift. So kudos to all of them. And yes, we actually have some Schroeder students who have applied already because Pam was my go-to person there. And I think Indy hooked me up with her to begin with on the education committee here from the council. So it's great to see all these connections taking place and actually yielding results. So thank you. And yeah, big shout out to Pam Wilder. She's awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Amanda, were there any questions online or in the chat?
Nope, I think we got them all.
Well, Alan, as always, thank you for being here. If you've got any flyers or anything to shoot us for the employment, and then we'll get the information out for the fresh market here in the coming weeks. We'll get that plugged and get that out there for you.
You got it. Thanks, everybody.
Kate,
Thank you.
I forgot to share something. I know he said $11. I forgot to tell that the youth group, everybody's paying $11. We are too. Just to let people know.
Okay.
That. Even the city of Cincinnati is paying $11.01 to their kids. Yep.
Okay.
That's the going
Perfect.
thing now.
All right. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Chamberlain, the Executive Director of MCURC. Floor is yours.
Okay, I'm just going to forewarn everybody. The dog's not barked all night, and like 1 second ago, he started barking. So if that happens, I'm sorry. MCURC has had a doozy of a week, and by doozy, I mean, I was like, if one more thing goes wrong, I'm going to have to just start crying at the office. But it didn't, and we took care of it. And mad props to Jordan as our mighty staff team of two for continuing to deliver while dealing with a lot of stuff. So with that being said, we have had a lot of stuff happening. We have applied for, I think, 5 or 6 grants now. We have 3 more coming down the pipeline. We've got one that's pretty much guaranteed funding. It looks like we're going to have more funding coming in for Little Duck Creek Trail. We just continue to leverage on those funds. I like to say we're making it rain for Madisonville. Like, we're bringing it to you people. So that's going to be kind of continuing this like a hustle we've had for grants, but we're going to keep moving on it. And I'm hoping with the ARPA funds, more and more opportunities are just going to keep arising, and we'll keep going after them, everything we can for you all. We are partnering on almost everything. So when you hear Alan talking about the farm stand, we're helping with the youth employment part. And yes, we are still talking to Groundworks and Brick Gardens about the phased in from the produce stand into a farmer's market. This is a process because we are having to like seek out funding, seek out technical assistance. These things are still happening. So I know that everybody has awesome ideas and they love to contact us and tell us, and we still want to hear those. But just so you know, we haven't abandoned this. This is a process. That's why we said it was going to be a phased approach to opening the farmer's market, meaning we would do it in phases. So slowly building on it. So hang on to your hats. It's coming. We're going to do the best we can. We're also all dealing with extremely limited staff. Big props to Green Umbrella, Michaela reaching out and working to help us and get us information as it comes in. We have been working on transportation stuff with Kerry Debris, which that man is a saint because I eat up a lot of his time and I am so sorry. He's also just a pool of knowledge that I think we're very fortunate to have here in Madisonville. And he and I are about to work together on the transportation grant that we've been we've been working on it, but now we're about to really nail it down. He's also been extremely helpful with the bike rack system, the parking system we've been looking at. We've also been meeting with the city staff on that because Unbeknownst to us, the city staff was also working on a bike parking system. Go figure, when people aren't talking, everybody starts doing the same thing. But we finally got together in a room, we collaborated, and I think we've got it taken care of. And now we have like 2 or 3 phases of installation for safe and easily maintained bicycle parking. Hopefully that means a lot of cyclists will start stopping in our downtown and visiting our businesses and spending money and supporting our small businesses. And hopefully that means a lot of Madisonville residents are going to get out on their bicycles. You don't need your car to get downtown. You can walk or you can ride your bicycle. And I think with that, we've talked about looking at getting a bicycle rodeo. Potentially, that was something that was kind of briefly mentioned, so kids can kind of learn safety and also how to do some maintenance. And I'm sure we can get some stuff together for new riders that are adults. Housing forum, I've been working closely with Kate Botos on that, as there is no housing chair for MCC right now. We have a housing forum that will be coming out at the end of June. That is going to be the last virtual one. It actually is going to be used to transition us into the first in-person one that's going to be October 16th. Kate's already scheduled this at the CRC. So we're very excited about that. We're gonna finally move away from the kind of assistance during COVID, that the last 2 that we worked on, that's pretty much what we were telling you about. This one is gonna start being a little more hands-on. So we are excited and looking forward to this as we keep working on that. Our community newsletter, this is probably what I'm most excited about. So I said, we have all these things happening that we can't really talk to you about. Our community newsletter that we work with the community council on, and I always praise Amanda Mahaffey because we really put her through the ringer on it, but you guys get a beautiful community newsletter mailed to your house. There is going to be a very cool announcement in it. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it'll be in the center. And it has to do with our public arts initiative in the Madison Road Business District. There's something really cool coming. I believe Artsville has played host to this graciously. There's a partnership with Artworks. This is Ackerman has really provided some cool stuff to our community. So you're gonna get your first chance to look at all of this. So that should be there in about 3.5 weeks. Please keep your eyes peeled. I'm not gonna steal anyone's thunder, so please don't ask questions. I'm not gonna tell you, because that's not fair to Ackerman and these awesome artists that have worked very hard. So don't ask, we're not stealing thunder. That's not cool. Last but not least, I keep getting people calling and reaching out, and we're starting to like exacerbate our time available to this. We know that you need a grocery. This is something that has been going on since long before I got here. I'm not doing anything different. I'm just kind of keeping this train going. Continuing to work with Kate Botos, continuing to work with city staff. We are at a place where some things might be happening. I'm not saying it's a grocery, but I'm saying that there might be some solutions, some very big solutions that are far greater than just a farmer's market, a permanent solution. The problem is Kate Botos, myself, city staff are all in a position where we cannot discuss what this is. So please do not assume that we're not doing anything. We are dedicating time, energy, effort. We're trying to get everybody working together, working through some kinks. There were some unexpected challenges, but we do have a potential permanent solution. So with that, once again, these things are being discussed with proprietary knowledge. There are confidentiality issues. There are, whenever you're working with the city and working with any kind of P3 development, if something has not been adopted, accepted, and agreed upon, it is technically not open record. So no, it is not something that we can really divulge, but just know that there is a solution that multiple people in this community are working to bring. We don't know if it will come to fruition, but we are hoping, and it looks really feasible right now. So please, yes, we are responding to this. We have not forgotten you. We know that this is a problem that we need to answer. Big props to everybody involved right now with trying to find a solution to this problem. That's pretty much what I have right now.
Elishia, Ann's for you. Go ahead, Ann.
Hi, Elishia, Ann Volunteer. You and I had discussed about the possibility of having Flat Frank here in our Madisonville, in his Madisonville neighborhood. Is that still in the plans to have at least one Flat Frank?
Oh my goodness, Ann, I know that you're super dedicated and you are pretty much here every month, but I don't know if you were not here last month, or maybe you were grabbing an iced tea or hopefully a cold beer, taking a small break, but we gave a presentation last month on.
Yes, I heard it, and you said that there would be 4 flat francs, but you also said that you found out somebody else was working on it, and so now y'all are working together. I just wanted to make sure that flat franc is still in the plans.
Oh yeah, flat frank's still totally in the plans. I think at this point, if I didn't have flat franc in the plans, I'm going to get hunted down by a bunch of flat franc enthusiasts.
Okay, all right.
Like, as long as we receive that grant funding, that's totally feasible. Now, I had a few, or I guess I had at least one board member that suggested maybe not 4 of them being necessary, but like have 1 or 2, and then have a couple other large ones that are in a different kind of design. And then don't forget, we also have, I think it was maybe 10 more of the laser cut U-racks. Plus there's some other stuff coming, and then the city has some stuff. There's going to be bike racks everywhere. Like, everybody better be riding their bikes in Madisonville, because we're going to make it real easy for you and real safe. But yes, no, and that is totally in the cards. That has been in the cards since before I got here. 2017, I believe, is when MCURC started working to bring this to you. And I'm just going to be fortunate to be here and hand them over.
Are there any other questions online or in the chat for Ms. Elishia? Sounds like you got a couple of things going on. Alex has a question for you. Go ahead, Alex.
Not a question, but just again, a shout out to Elishia. I mean, this idea with the food desert and getting something going since we lost the dollar store, which was some semblance of some type of food procurement for the neighborhood, is great. So hopefully that keeps going. Looking forward to hearing the secret issues that might come up, but great job. Good to hear that's happening. Keep it going. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Amanda, were there any other questions online or in the chat for Elishia?
Nope, you're off the hook.
You're off the hook. With that, we're going to turn it over to TJ from Meek. TJ, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. I don't know if I missed the first announcement, but something popped up on my Facebook. So happy birthday, Madam President.
Oh, thanks.
Nothing new, just a weekly update from Meek, Madisonville Education Assistance Center. We do have our food distributions coming up for the month of June. We did start at evening hours, but for June 8th, our hours are 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's the first and third Tuesday of each month will be our distribution. First one is June 8th. The second one is June 22nd from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. And I know with a lot of the COVID restrictions that are loosening up, the mandate that Governor DeWine has lifted starting June 2nd, we will also be adapting and changing with the time. So here soon, we'll be able to have our neighbors back in our venue to where they can shop at our food pantry. Other than that, that's all I have. Thank you for all the hard work that you guys are doing, and stay safe out there.
Hey, thank you, TJ. We appreciate all the work from Meek. And with that, that concludes our agency announcements. We do have some old business this evening. We've got Miss Gina here and Miss Lisa from Hamilton County Development Disability Services. I'm going to go ahead and add you both to give us an update on the ongoing housing project over on Bramble. Welcome, ladies.
Hi. So I'm Lisa Danford. I'm the Community Relations Coordinator for Hamilton County Developmental Disability Services. I've lived here in Madisonville since 2009. And so it's kind of good to see some of the faces that go along with all the big changes that have been happening. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of an overview of our agency. And then Gina will give you a quick update. Whoops, there we go. So I just want to start real quick with the picture from our vaccine clinic, which was over at our Kingsley office over by Schroeder High School in Fifth Third. We started in January and we just wrapped up last week, and we were able to vaccinate almost 2,000 people, and we administered 4,300 doses at our clinic. So that was really exciting. For those of you that don't know us, we are a government social services agency. We were established by state law, and we've been around for more than 50 years. What we our mission has kind of evolved, you know, as long as we've been around, but our focus has always been on the people that we support and getting them involved in their communities. And so we get this question kind of a lot: what is a developmental disability? It can be physical, it can be intellectual, or it can be both. It can be something that you were born with, like autism or Down syndrome, or it can be something like a traumatic brain injury that may occur later in childhood or in adolescence. It affects your major life activities. It has to begin before age 22. And the big thing is it's not a temporary disability. It's expected to kind of last throughout a person's lifetime. So we provide a lot of services for people at all stages of life. Last year, we supported 7,600 people in Hamilton County. We help people navigate life transitions. We connect them to service providers who are really kind of the backbone of our system. And we provide the matching funds. So our agency is funded primarily by a property tax levy that's voted on every 5 years. And we've been really thankful for phenomenal support for that levy. We also provide trainings and consultations to our providers, and we have a team that really works to keep people safe. They investigate reports of abuse, neglect, misappropriation, and other incidents. And most importantly, they make sure that there's a prevention plan in place to prevent those incidents from happening again. This is just a quick overview of some of our services. Early intervention is for babies and toddlers age 0 to 3. We have children's services. We operate 2 schools. One is in Madisonville, and the other is over on the west side. But we also still support a lot of students in their public schools. There's transition, adult services, and in the past few years, we've really been focused on aging caregivers. Helping them create a plan for the future for their loved one. And everything that we do is really guided by our strategic focus areas, which are family engagement, community partnership, innovative solutions, go-to resources, and service quality and fiscal responsibility. In Bramble House, which Gina is going to talk about here in a second, is really a great example of this. So Gina, go take it away.
Miss Gina, we can't hear you. Nope.
Nope. Gina, do you want me to go ahead and start with it?
How about now?
There we go.
I don't know why it does that. I'm so sorry. I was saying, I'm really happy to be back. I'm talking about Bramble House with the Community Council. The picture here is the current state of the exterior, and it is not quite yet done. There's a couple extra things that'll be going on here soon. If you want to switch slides for me. For those of you who were not at the presentation last year in July. Sorry?
Did it switch? It's still showing the Bramble House on mine.
No, it's still showing the Bramble House.
Hold on.
All the technological issues waited for us. How kind of it.
I'm going to stop the share and start it again. We'll see if that works. Sorry about that.
We waited until everyone was getting tired for all the tech issues to pop up. Do you want me to try and share mine instead? Oh, you got it.
No, it's not letting me move forward.
Why don't you stop sharing? I'll try and share mine, see if mine has more luck.
Apologies, everyone.
It wouldn't be a meeting unless something weird happened.
And this is why I made sure Gina had a copy of the presentation too.
Yay. Did it switch for everyone? Can everyone see it? Maybe I was prematurely celebrating. So for those of you who weren't here last year, when I presented with another person from Hamilton County at kind of just a little bit of a reminder, we were fortunate enough to be able to partner with Hamilton County DDS. We're with Housing Network of Hamilton County, and we specifically house individuals with developmental disabilities. This specific site will provide housing for 16 people with developmental disabilities who would find it hard to find a place to live in the traditional housing market. This is a substantial investment in the Madisonville community, and it will ensure that the individuals that live here have a safe, affordable, and accessible place to call home. So you may, if you've been past there recently, you may have noticed all the activities. They pretty much started last fall. Some of the big changes were that we switched out the HVAC system completely so that they now have a single heat and air system. We added a sprinkler system to the building, and we've made a lot of accessibility improvements, hence the large ramp on the front of the building. And this will be a license setting, which we'll own, but Hamilton County DDS will be the license holder. And we're excited that they've appointed Total Home Care Solutions to be the provider of services in this home. And they'll be able to provide both in-person and remote support to the tenants. As a reminder, that is a 24-hour a day service that will be there. There will always be service providers on site to help with the tenants. I'm going to give you the first glimpse tour of the inside of our building. So if you've been in the building before, you might know that throughout the floors, the units are very different from one another. So here's a sampling of some of the kitchens that were done. We have a lot of units that have fully accessible roll-in showers, and then we do have some units that have regular baths. We do have living rooms and bedrooms, of course, but they're not quite as exciting as the kitchens and baths. So just go pictures here. And then the common areas, which these are not great pictures of, but there are, on the lower level, there's a full laundry room. There's a second laundry room on the second floor. There'll be a large lobby coming in from the ramp and a couple other little common areas throughout the building. There are a few things, I kind of got ahead of myself here. There are a few things left for us to do. Next Tuesday, you'll see our staff and a couple volunteers on site doing the landscaping here. So that'll be a big improvement. The one piece on the front, actually kind of the last big piece that we have is a awning that goes over the front entrance and over the ramp in the front. The ramp, you might notice it kind of stands out a little bit from the rest of the building, and unfortunately it will be that way until the wood cures. As we all know right now, wood is as good as gold, so we've got to treat it very kindly until it's had enough time and place to be treated. And I think that that's really about all that's left to do on the building. We are having a ribbon cutting. It will start at 10 a.m. On June 21st. It will be live stream on Hamilton County DDS's website, and that website's listed here.
And we would also like to take the opportunity to invite any of the members of the Madisonville Community Council Board to join us in person if you are able to. And I will follow up and send the flyer and information to Kate.
And I did want to give one quick shout out. the community has been really wonderful with us. I know it's never fun to have construction going on in your neighborhood, you know, the traffic and the noise and all of that. And everyone's been really gracious and kind. And when there's been concerns, have been really good about calling and letting us work with them. So I appreciate Madisonville's community. You've been really wonderful to be in.
And I did just want to add, we are always looking for ways to partner with communities. So if you ever do little tables for services at Tuesdays in the park or things like that, we would be happy to join or sponsor events. So we'll follow up with that too. Thank you guys for letting us come.
Absolutely. Thank you for, I'm gonna stop your screen share.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. I just want to bring it back to you guys so that if anybody has any questions, and I see we've got a hand up, Alex has a question for you. Go ahead, Alex.
Thank you. I'm just curious, is this similar to the housing that was developed in Anderson Township that had like a men's house and a women's house for disability through LADD, possibly?
And that one as well.
What?
So, no, that is a pilot. The little that I know about this project, and it's mainly news stories, is that is a pilot program. And there were some select individuals who, it's all mostly remote support. I don't think they have staff on site, so they can talk to people through video monitors. There's a lot of smart technology. It's kind of a pilot smart home, but this is different from that.
Okay, it sounds good though. It's important for all communities to have this kind of support. Thanks for being here. It's great.
Amanda, were there any other questions online or in the chat?
No.
All right, well, ladies, we appreciate you being here and sharing the update. As always, we appreciate this amazing project. I would echo Alex's sentiments as well. This is an amazing project and it's a great opportunity for new neighbors in our community. That being said, you just volunteered to participate in the carnival day that we're going to have. You didn't realize you did that, but I'm going to hold you to it. Careful what you volunteer for on video. So, but no, we'll definitely be reaching out ways to partner because it's going to be an amazing opportunity. So thank you. Thank you for coming to our neighborhood.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. And with that, if there's no other old business to present before the body, we will go ahead and open it up to new business. First order of new business is the North Sierra Lot Community Engagement. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Elishia Chamberlain.
All right. Well, Kate, I thought you were going to explain the when and how, and I was going to answer questions about the whys.
Nope, flip flop. Also, I just lost you. I'm trying to figure out who I just pinned and unpinned. Sorry, Miss Lisa, you're still on the spot. There we go.
Okay, well then everybody give me a moment because I don't have it in front of me, the date and time, so I apologize.
Looks like Ann still had a question, so hold on. Ann, you had a question about this topic or the previous topic?
No, yes, I'm unmuted. I just am concerned with a late hour getting into new business. Do we have a quorum of 15 members other than the board members in this meeting now?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Don't count the board members.
You have to count the board members because they're members.
The bylaws say that a quorum is 15 and 4 board members. So 15 members and 4 board members. So you don't count the board members.
12, 13, 14, 15. We actually have 15, not including board members.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Elishia, go ahead.
Okay, and I don't think we're taking any action on this specifically. I think this is more just to alert people, which of course we want to do no matter what the hour, because we have limited time for public notice, which is super important. So on Wednesday, June 2nd at 5 p.m., there is going to be a virtual public engagement meeting. This subject of this is the proposed sale of city-owned property, use of tax increment financing, better known as TIF funds, and potential community reinvestment area, CRA, tax abatement for the Madison and Wetzel development at 5100, 5104, and 5108 Wetzel Avenue and 5910 Sierra Street in Madisonville. There are going to be a couple of different options for use of this property, the end uses for the site. And what they are wanting to do is gain community feedback. So this is the property that we are all familiar with at Madison and Wetzel. We are seeing phase 3 begin. Phase 2 is stealthily moving along. With that, the purpose of this meeting is to bring people in. At first, this meeting was scheduled for 4 p.m. The city has implemented this new process. Basically, any conveyance of property with property worth over $50,000 or more is going to require public engagement. This is pretty typical for like every community everywhere in the US. Most of the time, actually, it's like a little bit lower value. It triggers it. And of course, as cities and counties, different municipalities work to achieve diversity and equity and community engagement, most of them are employing an approach, an audience-based community strategy as far as how they're approaching this. So what they're looking at is they're looking at target audience, they're looking at how to engage more people. There's this horrible thing that happens in communities where the same 35, 40 people show up to every meeting and they express the same opinions and they all talk to each other, and it's either one group or two groups and they literally just kind of talk in a vacuum. So the city is doing this virtually. I think they're trying to do this in an effort to reach more people, even though we are trying to phase out of the virtual meetings at this point. They had planned this at 4 o'clock. Kate and I did, and I believe Terry Henry with the Business Chamber, all three of us had requested that this be moved. I was kind of hoping for a later time. We got 5 p.m. I think that's a good thing. If you're wondering why I was hoping for a later time, it is a known fact that first off, you just tend to lose people the minute you go into an in-person meeting. People are intimidated, people feel like they're not welcome, it's too much time, people have busy lives. So virtual meetings are gonna capture you a small percentage more people that is like fact-based information from community engagement professionals and planning professionals. Anytime between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m., you start to lose people that are single parents, young professionals, students. If you want to talk to those folks, you normally have to do it after 6 p.m. But this is what we have to work with, and city staff also are limited in their ability to meet after hours, I'm sure. So this meeting is going to occur. They are going to share with you the potential options, and you are going to provide feedback. I do not know if there are any other options. Obviously, you can write a letter to City Council or to Planning and Zoning and share your thoughts that way. Kate, are there any other options?
To my knowledge, at this point, it is just the two options that have been submitted to the city for public engagement. Unfortunately, I don't know any specifics about either of these two options. The developer has not called a design review committee since January 28th. This information was actually—
Pardon me. It's 3 options. You're seeing 2 maps, but remember the one map has 2 different options for the actual structure, the living. You could go one way or the other. One option's affordable, one option's market rate.
Oh,
so,
that's correct. So technically 3 options, yes. But again, I know very little specifics outside of what's been sent to the city. As I was saying, we've had no design review per the MCURC development agreement since January 28th. This was actually news to pretty much everybody involved with the exception of the developer when this was submitted, what, a week and a half ago. I will be very transparent. This meeting was initially going to be scheduled for May 24th at 4 o'clock. I actually pushed back to the city as it's the last week of school for most of our young people, and 4 o'clock people are otherwise engaged because it's the last week of school and last week of spring sports as well. So the city, our city planning connection, James Weaver, was actually very enthusiastic when we asked about other ways for people to get engaged. There is the Zoom link that you can sign up for. they were actually very supportive of other ways to engage the community, whether it is sending in a video montage, having people submit their comments, whether it's submitting comments from our social media pages, specific inquiries from emails, etc. Because not everybody can attend a Zoom meeting at 5 o'clock. A lot of people are still at work.
And if I may, to be very clear, because I had a couple people today talk about the public comment meeting or the public meeting. There's a difference between a public engagement meeting and a public comment meeting. So generally right before a vote, City Council will open up the opportunity for the public to come in and discuss something. The public has the opportunity to generally speak at any planning and zoning meetings. This is a public engagement meeting. So this is where you just talk about ideas and your thoughts and your feelings, and you're kind of expressing what you'd like to see, and they're gathering input so the staff can come up with a community influenced suggestion that they then take to planning and zoning or to council, depending on what kind of engagement process you're going through. So please understand, this isn't like your final opportunity to say something. This is an engagement process to get your feedback.
Joan, you've got a question, go ahead.
Yeah, how do you participate in this again? If it is an online meeting, do you send in a request to be included in the Zoom meeting?
Correct, yes. And Amanda's going to send that link out to all, I believe it's not only, it's already posted on social media, but we'll also do an email blast next week as well.
Okay, thank you.
Kate?
Yes, Charlie?
Yeah, based upon the information that I saw, you have to register with James Weaver, but no later than 9 a.m. on the 31st in order to be able to speak. The only problem with the 31st, that's Memorial Day, and the city's not going to be open on that day.
That is correct.
I just thought that was a little disingenuous on their part, but the idea being it's james.weaver@cincinnati.oh.gov.
If that is what, because it's public notice and the public notice laws the city is beholden to, if you send it at 8:55 on that Monday morning, whether or not he sees it, by law, they have to accept it. So
got it. Okay. Well,
just make sure you send it. And if you don't send it in at 12 o'clock that day, and then say that you sent it in, because they don't have to honor that. I mean, they might, some places do, but they don't have to, and they shouldn't.
I understood that, and I guess that would be the case, but I still thought, really? He still said he'll accept them up until 9 a.m. on a day that he's not going to be in the office. Okay, fine. So, but anyway, okay.
And Carrie did just point out that that deadline is actually for written comments, not for if you want to sign up for the meeting. I don't believe there's a deadline for requesting to join the meeting. It is specifically for the written comments, which I guess that answers, I think, an earlier question of if you can't attend to the Zoom meeting and you'd still like to write a comment, it sounds like you can email the same James Weaver and get that written comment into the records.
He actually, I'm actually reading that normally they actually put a 48-hour time frame on that. I do not see that. What I will offer up, and this is without talking to either Kathy or Brian, and I'd already previously mentioned it to Mr. Weaver, is we will probably set up a couple of locations where people can actually come and give public comment, where we'll have a Zoom link already set up, and people can come and give it's going to be 3 minutes, and people can come and give their 3 minutes comments, questions, concerns. That way, if you don't have access to the internet, if you don't have access to Zoom, If for some reason you request to get the link and you don't have it, we'll have some public access points where people can give their comments. We think with everything going on in the city, it's very important that people have a chance to have their voices heard. Got a hand up. Go ahead, Ann.
Those public access points are going to be during that meeting at 5 o'clock?
Correct, yes.
Okay, not separate, at separate times.
Not unless I get a bunch of people that say, hey, we'd like to have a public access point where we can come and do a video. It's possible with Tuesdays in the Park being the first kickoff the day before that we might set something up. Just depends on bandwidth and volunteer support, to be honest with you. Any other questions? Amanda, was there anything online or in the chat? No? Okay. Well, that ends that piece of new business. We have one more piece of new business. Charlie is going to present. Charlie, I've actually got a working document. I'm going to share.
Okay.
Bishop is still in class, unfortunately. Thought he was going to get done teaching at 9, and he's got a bunch of young folks that are still going strong asking questions. So
that's also not an uncommon thing. So
before you start real quick, Charlie, Mr. Tim had a question about the purpose of the TIF hearing. The purpose of the TIF hearing is to find out what the community's reaction is to the two proposals and the use of the existing TIF funds or remaining TIF funds to be used for public infrastructure. There's still some questions out on how much of that TIF is actually available that's not already previously allocated. We previously allocated a couple of million, almost 4 years ago. So there's still some questions about what in the TIF is actually available. Not all the receipts have been turned in for phase 1 or phase 2. As we all know, phase 3 just kicked off construction. So that's a chance to basically put in public input on what you think is doable, acceptable, and is this something that we want the TIF to be used for. Keep in mind, TIF can be used for public infrastructure. And that's within the entire TIF district. Elishia, the TIF district runs all the way down to
Kate. Kate, if I can just interrupt for 1 second. It was my understanding for giving feedback on end use for the Sierra site and the parcel, because this is the whole meeting pertains directly to the conveyance of property. The TIF funds, basically the approval of them or the suggested amount isn't coming out of discussion on the actual TIF funding, but it's tethered to the end use. So I don't know how much, I wasn't aware that there was going to be a lot of discussion about the TIF spending, so much as discussion about end use of the site and the expectation of that. And just everybody, one more time, there are actually 3 end uses. One of them, it's like a use that could be used for market rate or affordable are going to be the 2 options. So it's one map, but there's 2 options within that map. Just to be clear, so everybody knows that those are 2 different discussions, because there's 2 different TIF dollar amounts tied to it. So normally when you have a public engagement meeting to discuss something like conveyance of property, you're not getting into a debate on TIF so much as the TIF is just tethered to those uses.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but that's how I understood it. And generally they have to separate those 2 discussions.
Correct. Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead to the presentation of the bylaws. Charlie, do you want me to go ahead and share a screen?
Yes, please.
I gotta find the right one. Where is my?
I didn't touch it.
Nope, here it is. Sorry. I did. If you want to go ahead and start talking, I'll share screen.
Well, I'm going to say that last year, Kate asked Bishop Brown and myself And we also added Kate to it to look at the bylaws and update them to better reflect what we need to do in what we're doing here with Madisonville Community Council. And a week ago, we met and we've come up with some ideas that are things that need attention. And this list that you see here are concepts. We will not have the in writing proposal until next month. And once the in writing proposal is made to everybody, then the following month would be the actual vote up or down on any of the changes. And one of the things that we've been looking at is that we need a conflict of interest policy, or more specifically, we need to say that if you have a conflict of interest with what's going on, whether that's because of you're involved with MCURC or with the business chamber, or you're the one who's making the presentation. You can make a presentation, but you can't vote on it if you are in the case of you're a developer who lived in Madisonville. But you can certainly present the presentation and you can advocate for it for everybody. There are several things that related to that. A policy would need to be drafted. We've gotten one from an online source that we'll be working on, and it'll mirror very closely what the business chamber is going to be using moving forward. We have discussed in Article 3, because this was the area, one of the things we had before, which was that even in a business, they still get one vote, and that the dues would be, a business doesn't have to be a significant increase in the amount of dues to be charged. Article 4, we would be removing the corresponding secretary. In essence, the recording secretary would now take on the corresponding secretary's duties. That would basically mean that the secretary who's responsible for taking the minutes would also be responsible for creating the letters or other documents that are needed to go out in the community council's name. Under Article 5, one of the things that, in order to deal with the issue of a conflict of interest, is that if someone wanted to be in, say, wanted to be on the Madisonville Community Council, but also wanted to be on MCURC's board at the same time, we feel that that's would be a conflict often, not because the information you saw and heard you couldn't vote on, but it would also just create a situation where it could be you are seeing information on something that, so what do you do when the chamber says, let's go for a project, and MCURC says, we don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole? And another real estate group that I'm involved in right now, we just finished with that. And so we want to clear that one else also up moving forward. The interesting thing is that the current bylaws require that the immediate past president serve for 1 year on the board. What it doesn't say is which year. And we would clarify that in this case, Kate would serve for as in an ex officio capacity on the MCC board for all of 2022. Finally, another one is that the board cannot take a position without a membership vote. Even though we sometimes have acted that way, if we're truly representing the community as a whole, we need to have a vote first before we can take a position. And that will also then lead us to, Kate, scroll up a little bit, some changes to the standing rules. Among those is an indication in the standing rules that one of the president's duties is to be the sole voice for the community. We have seen recently where a news reporter comes in, sticks a microphone in somebody's in their face, and just because Amanda says she lives in Madisonville, that somehow Amanda must be speaking for the council, even though it's a topic that hasn't even been discussed yet. So this is a clarification that we need to get fixed. It's nothing major, but because most organizations, that's one of the things that's there, but we just never have had it in our standing rules, or for that matter, our bylaws regarding that clarification. And I think, do we have anything else on the next page? Yeah, one of the last things is to make sure that on our website and other public facing electronic issues, that people can easily find the officers of the community council and can, whether it's a click of a mouse or some other way, find out somebody who could then pick up the phone and find Kate or find yours truly or find someone else in order to discuss. And the other thing that would be that we'll need to work on, it's related to that conflict of interest, and that is that's a policy that would be required to sign off on by the board members each and every year, so that it's not something that we could sign off today and then forget about it tomorrow. And it's a challenge, but we'll have all that in writing in place for you to see on a little bit more detail come at our meeting next month, June. And who knows, if we're lucky, let's be outside. Kate?
You're on mute, Kate. That's probably for the best. We got hands up. I'm going to go ahead, Naima first, and then Alex. You're on deck. Go ahead, Naima.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions and comments about the proposed bylaws. What's the process for voting on these? Are they going to be presented to the membership in detail with
Yes.
the actual language? And when will
Yes.
that happen?
That would be next month.
So we won't be able to vote on it until the month after that because we
That's
won't
right,
be able
June.
to see the.
That's correct.
And then July is when the vote would take place?
That's right, because traditionally the community councils, just like city council, does not meet during the month of August.
Okay. And then just looking them over, I'm sure there'll be time for public.
Oh, absolutely. Sure.
Comment and things, but one thing I noticed, it seems like there's going to be a due process issue. There's a proposal there for something to take effect for the 2021 election cycle. I noticed you have been served on another board. So you haven't given people an opportunity to meet the requirements to be a candidate by such short notice. So that's problematic. And I think we have, I think Charlie is, I mean, we have coming from, you're on our MCURC's committee, right?
I am on the real estate committee at MCURC, yes.
Yeah. I mean, it suggests a lot of what's being proposed here suggests your inability to be, you know, impartial.
Correct. And I was the one, I was the one who brought it up when Kate and Bishop and I were talking about it. Because that's, I'm not here to say that my hands are clean on this.
I'm not saying that they're dirty. I'm not suggesting that at all. As a matter of fact, I'm saying that they're not. I'm saying that the three organizations have worked. You know, different people have served in different capacities on different ones. And the second issue I think we have is we're denying the voters, the people of the community, the right to make the decision as whether or not they think someone can serve. That say, for example, I would want to run for an officer's position, that the people in the community and the members can decide whether they think I can serve them as a community council member, having come from MCURC. They would have that information. There's an opportunity for candidates to share that information, to let that be known. Or if someone were running against me, they could say, well, I don't think Naima, you know, can serve well for whatever reason. And that might be one of the things that they bring up, but it's the voters' decision. You know, I think some of these proposals are taking away the community members' rights to make decisions, you know, just preemptively. I'm just really shocked at some of these proposals. So I just, well, what I have to say about that.
Well, and I will say that what is a concept and what it looks like on paper, Naima, you know as well as I do, can look very different once you see it's on paper. And right now, you know, I've started to glance at it, but I really haven't started to dig in real deep. But I will be digging in deeper as we go over the next couple, 3 weeks, because I want to have this, you know, I wouldn't, the vetting process is just that, it's vetting. You know, there's nothing that says that what we do is perfect, and we'll, and always happy to have some other broad minds to help us with things. So,
well, I look forward to seeing them. Thanks, Charlie.
Yep. Thank you, Naima.
And to piggyback, somebody actually just texted me, brought up a good point. They said actually it's similar to city service. If you're on a city, if you're a city employee or on city council, you can't serve on community council. That's different. We're gonna throw Brian under the bus. Like Brian can't serve on our board. It's considered a conflict of interest. We actually talked it through and looked at similar to a non-compete. Sorry, Brian. Similar to a non-compete clause. There are certain companies in the city where you could have all the expertise in the world, but that company would not hire you. You're required to sit out for a year just to make sure that there's no question of conflict of interest. It protects the organizations, and it protects all the organizations. And it's something that, to be quite honest with you, I'm actually surprised we didn't have in place before. And it's been suggested by people throughout the community. It's being talked about with other community councils on a community council level, because there are issues that should not all be agreed on by all of the leadership organizations in Madisonville. There are times where all of them are going to be aligned, but there are times where they're not, and they shouldn't be, because everybody's Charlie, what's the word I'm looking for? Everybody's missions are different. If our mission,
right, correct.
we wouldn't have.
Other than supporting Madisonville, all our missions from there, what does that mean? Vary. And that's not a bad thing. It's just a statement of fact. So.
Yeah.
Anne had a question.
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead, Anne.
Okay, I thought you said Alex was next, but I'll be happy to go next. Thank you.
Ladies first, always.
Oh, thank you. I too share Naomi's name. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. Concerns, in particular about the dates, effective dates of when these things go into when they start. I think really the only date that to me that makes sense is the one where Kate stays on ex officio on the board, because that is just more clarification,
right.
and it should apply to her. But as far as conflict, like I will use Naomi as an example. If she wants to run for an election in November for the Madisonville Community Council for a term starting in January, and she rolls off the board of MCURC at the end of this year, she should be allowed to run, because she won't be serving on two different boards at the same time. And again, like she said, that would be disclosed that she's rolling off of the MCURC board. And so the membership would have the ability to be able to not vote for her if they choose to. So so I agree with what she said. Conflict. So does that mean that if I own land in Madisonville and I want to develop something that is going to need community council approval, and I present that to the community council, correct me if I'm wrong, but did I understand you to say that I wouldn't be able to vote?
Absolutely
I would be
not. If you are getting any type of, and Elishia, correct me if I'm wrong on the ethics piece, any type of fiduciary compensation, monetary, anything that would actually benefit yourself, that's standard ethical process. You should not be voting for it. You can present it all day long, but when it comes time for a vote, you should be recusing yourself.
So you're taking my vote away from me because it's my property.
That's standard city policy. If you watch any city council meetings, you'll see very oftentimes there are council people that will recuse themselves from the room in most cases because it directly affects something that would affect their pocket.
I disagree totally, and we'll all be able to vote on that because, well, there are developers coming up all over Madisonville that are going to be able to develop on their own property that don't need to come before community council.
They don't vote though.
Yeah, if they own the property, they do.
No,
if they own the property and are residents of Madisonville, they can join the council.
They do not vote in community council meetings.
If I may, Anne, are you asking vote in general or just vote on the specific request of the developer? Like if you're a developer and you come and present to community council and you're requesting a vote for support for a zoning variance, that is when you cannot vote. You can vote on Jane wanting to open up an ice cream shop down the road because that has absolutely no impact on you. It's if it's going to directly impact you, and that's not.
So does that mean that Kathy Garrison, Kathy, I'm not talking bad about you, don't get mad at me, that Kathy can't vote on things that affect Artsville? She has a vested interest in that, and I've not seen a recusal of her for Artsville. So I mean, we can talk about it more later, but I
Artsville's ever come
disagree.
before the community council for a vote of support for anything.
They have many times. The other thing I want to ask is that again, it may be a misunderstanding because the screen is small and it went by fast. That we're changing the dues for a business to $10 instead of $25?
Correct.
Why?
Because when it was $25, you got 2 votes.
But why are we reducing dues?
We also, but at the time, we also didn't have a business chamber.
Mhm.
And that business chamber membership is much higher than $25.
But we're only talking about $15 difference here. I think that money is well spent for the community council. I would even suggest we need to raise membership dues to $10 instead of just $5, so that there's some investment there. But I disagree with lowering dues, even though you are lowering the vote to, their entitlement to one vote instead of having two. It just doesn't make sense.
And many community councils actually don't have dues at all. It's a suggested donation. The thought process when we were talking it through was because with all of the hardships going on with the past year, with the addition of a business chamber, when there was initially a $25 due and 2 votes for a business in the community council, there was no business chamber. As things have changed and progressed over the past 5 years, the thought process was you already have stripped 1 vote away, but you're still requiring that same monetary requirement, was to get more businesses engaged and involved. We have a lot of small businesses here in Madisonville that are also joining the business chamber and wanting to join the council. So as opposed to putting possibly undue financial hardship on people, was to reduce that monetary dues. We have a lot of businesses that donate well above and beyond that, and that's great. But just like with residents that would struggle to pay a $5 due or even a $10 due, we wanted to make sure that it stayed accessible to our small businesses that are continuing to populate here in Madisonville.
I disagree heartily. If $15 is going to be a burden on a business, that's I would question their business model. How much are the dues for the business group?
They're a minimum of $50.
Again, why reduce dues? I just, that does not make sense financially for our community council. It just does not make sense whatsoever. I don't know, Kate, how many businesses do we have in the Madisonville Community Council?
Not as many as we've had in the past. We've actually had a lot of businesses that have not come back, that have joined the business chamber as opposed to joining the community council.
Because of $25. I would like to know who those businesses are so that we can make sure we patronize them so that they can stay in business, because obviously $25 or $15 is keeping them from supporting the community. I just think that that's very petty and going backwards.
There are a lot of businesses.
And you have your right to voice your opinion as president. You have your right to voice it. I'm giving feedback just like other people do. And I just disagree with reducing dues, because it's also a difficult time for the Madisonville Community Council and for the things that the council wants to do in the coming years. And so reducing, I certainly understand, I don't want the $5 to go up, but I don't think we ought to reduce the 25 for businesses.
Well, having actually reached out to businesses in the past, and there were actually a lot of businesses that when the second vote was taken away, some businesses felt that their voice wasn't heard. So rather than come back to the community council, they chose to join the business chamber because they felt as a business chamber, that's where their voice should be heard, and that the community council should be geared toward residents. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I think our job as community council leadership is just to get more engagement overall. It would be great, to be honest with you, if we got half of the residents in Madisonville to pay membership dues and donate $5, we wouldn't be worried about whether or not businesses were paying $10 or $25, because we would have that work from the residents.
So which were the businesses that chose, when losing one vote, to not rejoin?
I'm not going to share that information, because that comes across as a witch hunt, and we don't want to do that. We should be supporting our businesses across the board, regardless of whether or not they're in the chamber or the community council or choose not to do anything.
No, you misunderstand me, Kate. I'm not saying that as a witch hunt. We want to make sure that they get business from us.
And that's why I said my response is support all of our businesses. Just flat out support all of our businesses. That's the best way to get our businesses engaged and involved, is to support them all.
Well, I disagree with that. And if $10 is $15 is going to be a make or break for a business, it's unfortunate.
Alex has had his hand up for a while. Go ahead, Alex. Is Alex still here? Alex?
Sorry, my shoulder hurts. Sorry, my hand was up so long.
Sorry.
Dang. Okay. Charlie, great to see you. I thought you had gone a walkabout with Frank in South America. You're losing weight. You look good. Anyway, yeah, you're welcome. All of us at a certain age. My question really truly is Article 5, first bullet point. Can you just explain that to me, what that means, so I can get an understanding of that?
Article
5 would be section, president's duties include sole voice of council and can appoint a separate appointee, or what does that mean?
Oh,
yeah.
I was looking at the wrong article. I'm sorry, Alex.
That's okay.
No, it's okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I gotta say, well, for instance, Alex, I'll just pick on you for this second.
You can pick on me. I got really thick skin. I grew up in Seattle.
Understand. Let's say that you go down to your city hall. You're visiting city hall. You're going to go to city council meeting, and a reporter from one of the TV stations finds out that you're from Madisonville, sticks a microphone in your face and says, what do you think? And then they report that you are representing Madisonville in their conversation. And in fact, that may not be the position that the community council or MCURC or the business chamber has taken.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason why I'm looking at it that way is that it's, in most bylaws for most organizations, the president's duties include the president will serve as the sole voice for the organization. And then it also usually then either under, 6A or 6B then says, but the president can appoint someone else to serve as their speaker if need be. But again, that's unfortunately, that's one of the things that we live with in our 24-hour-a-day news cycle. That when John London sticks a microphone in your face, whether you like him or not, or whether you agree with what he's asking, as far as he's concerned, you just became the spokesperson for Madisonville.
Okay, so it's really about getting out sort of media.
Not specific to media, but that's where we see it more than any place else.
No, I'll be very candid and very specific with you guys, because this has happened not only with our community council in our neighborhood, but with other neighborhoods where somebody calls the city, emails the police department, emails the city department and says, I am representing the community council. I am speaking on behalf of the community council. And gives their opinion and voices it as the voice of the community council as a whole, to the point of threatening people's zoning changes, to the point of possibly changing policy decisions. And they're doing it not as officers of councils, not as officers of boards, but just as regular citizens. There's a specific incidents in Madisonville. I actually know of two just in the past 2 months, specifically in Madisonville. There are other instances where, and we've seen it, and I know Amanda can speak to it, where somebody's like, hey, can I get a quote on something happening in the neighborhood? where I said, hey, this is a transportation issue. Carrie is more versed in what's happening right now because he's, you know, waist deep in what's going on in the transportation world for Madisonville. Carrie, why don't you talk to this reporter as the transportation chair for the Madisonville Community Council? I'm as the president, I'm saying you are speaking on behalf of the community council, and as a community council leadership board, we are aware that this is happening. It's not saying that a resident can't voice an opinion. There is in no way any type to stifle any type of conversation or personal opinion at all. It is specifically representing yourself because the community council is existing by ordinance of the city of Cincinnati, which means technically you are a public official. When you misrepresent yourself as a public official and you are not, that's actually illegal. So it puts parameters in place in our bylaws, because right now there's nothing there that stipulates that. It puts something in our bylaws that says we are aware of this. We are making sure that on our end, we are doing everything to make sure that our residents know, our boards itself know that this is how this works.
Okay, that I think that sounds actually pretty robust, which kind of leads me back to a letter probably sent by Terry Hendry a few years ago, where she spoke on this being the business council, but I think it was a personal opinion on her part, which always strikes me as being exactly what you just said, not a part of the community. So I want that to be clear.
I can't speak to anything that Terry Henry has sent on behalf of the business chamber because we're not the business.
I have the letter.
That's something that you would take up with the business chamber if there's an issue with that. This is specific to community council.
I think that's more with the community council than the business chamber, because I think she spoke out of turn as a personal view of her opinion about the business. And I think that's exactly what Charlie just spoke to and you just spoke to, that somebody spoke above the community council. So we need to address that. That's a serious issue, and it still sticks with me, and it's very, very serious because it derailed a lot of things, and it was just her personal opinion. Now, the other thing, Charlie, I have with you is on
I'm still talking at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, we're all talking at 10 o'clock. I got to go to work at 7. Still, you look great, dude.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, you really do. And the other thing about bylaws is, I don't know if this is appropriate, but I would bring this up. I would like to see that the council as a whole, there isn't just one voice. If a member of the council runs across the president or somebody else, that there's more than one voice to deny a council person of being a part of the council. I think it needs to be more than just one voice. We don't want to have a sort of a oligarchy or one president saying yay or nay about council members. And I think that needs to be put into our bylaws. It needs to be broader, more members look at the situation and say, well, this is good, this is bad, this shouldn't happen. Right now it's just the president says I can appoint or not appoint a member of the council. I don't believe that that's a good thing, because it becomes a cult of personality.
All right. Well, as I'll say to you, to Ann, and to Amy, I thank you very much for your input. We know that until you see what's actually in writing, it's always going to be tough to explain exactly what you see. And do I think there might be some wordsmithing coming out of that? Yeah. So, yeah. But I appreciate your input.
Thank
you and Ann. So,
Charlie,
and Amy.
Joan's got a question as well.
Sure.
Joan, go ahead.
Actually, I have 2 comments. One, in terms of reducing the dues for businesses from 25 to 10. When I was the treasurer for 5 years, the dues is a very, very small portion of Madisonville Council's budget. I don't think the intent was ever to raise money to support the activities, because my guess is we might have $1,000 a year or $2,000 a year in dues. And of that, maybe we had 10 businesses at 25 each. So we're talking $250. So I think that lowering it to $10 is in line with what we have been trying to do, which is get a lot more businesses and people to be members. It wasn't to raise money. And then the second comment I had was about the president being the spokesperson for the community council. I think it's a very good idea to very clearly state that the only person who has the authority to speak on the council's behalf is Kate. And I think this came up before when Luke was the president, when we were dealing with the John P. Parker and MedPace. And when you start to talk with city council members and the mayor, and we have to make sure that the community as a whole knows that they can't pick an arbitrary person and say, this is the council's voice. So I don't think it's really what we're doing is we're saying this outwardly. Hey, press, or hey, city council, you got to be mindful of who really is the person who speaks for the council. Otherwise, but it doesn't mean, in my opinion, and I think Kate and others and Charlie would encourage people, anybody who wants to give their opinion as a Madisonville resident would be great. Go to city council, make your point known.
Yep.
But we don't want the people who we're talking to turn around and say, this is the council talking, when it's really me, or it's Tony, or it's Charlie, giving a personal opinion. So I don't think that we're restricting anybody's voice whatsoever, but only making sure that outwardly, when people are getting a comment, they know they got to go to the president if they really want to hear what the council's opinion is, and they're going to, or to her designee. And I think that's a good thing. I think that clears us, and it makes us more able to fight if something comes up where someone's representing the voice of the council and they're saying something that the council doesn't even agree with. So those are just my 2 points. Oh, one other quick thing. If I remember correctly, the reason this conflict stuff came up, one of the reasons was Invest in Neighborhoods, which is that umbrella organization under which they work between the city and the community councils. I think they recommended that we have very clear ethics rules set out in the bylaws. And again, I think this was 2 years ago or something. They pointed up that they see other councils' ethics rules and that we needed to beef up our ethics rules. So I'm in favor of beefing up the ethics rules. And that's it. That's all I have to say.
That's actually correct, Joan. We're actually behind the 8 ball. There are a lot of councils that have already put these rules in place.
Yeah, that's what I understand.
We've seen a lot of things happening just within our city council structure in the last 18 months. Somebody actually, I think it was Naima, might have brought up the point about not giving people enough time to qualify to run. You have to attend 4 meetings. You have 5 left before nominations. So literally anybody at this point, regardless of whether or not these rules get voted into place or not, has an opportunity to qualify for office. So if people are interested, go to ourmadisonville.com, pay your dues because you're required to be a member, and attend the meetings. Anne's got another question. Go ahead, Anne. I think I unmuted you. Go ahead.
That's fine. I had muted myself after the last question. And then I lost my train of thought. Invest in Neighborhoods. Joan, that was, thank you for bringing that up. Have these been run by Invest in Neighborhoods, or will they be before they're presented, finished and presented?
We're not required to. I typically will talk things through with Elizabeth Bartley before we do anything. I was actually involved with Invest in Neighborhoods bylaws review as well. So like I said, this is something that's been a long time in coming. Both Charlie and Bishop are our resident bylaws, Robert's rules gurus. So we'll rely on them to put the therefores and where to ends language in place.
I would like to specifically ask that after it's written, that they be run by Invest in Neighborhoods, since that way they can polish anything off after the expert work of Charlie.
Board or
Sure,
from
no
Invest in
problem.
Neighborhoods Executive Director?
Right. I have no problem with taking that up. Thank you, Ann. That's a great idea.
And just for
Thanks.
clarification, with Invest in Neighborhoods Board, with Invest in Neighborhoods Executive Director?
However, Invest in Neighborhoods is involved in these sort of things. I don't know that.
Okay.
Just that it be run by, before it's presented
Mhm.
to Madisonville Community Council, that the language be presented to Invest in Neighborhoods in time enough for them to review it and make any changes consistent with best practices.
Okay.
Hey, I apologize, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of multitasking right now, but with what Ann just said, before you call Invest in Neighborhoods, if you're calling their staff, does their staff not have like a queue of work that they do? Like I would assume Elizabeth Bartley, like.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would assume so. Yeah, and their website actually has best practices for bylaws, standards, etc. But I'll chat with Elizabeth.
I was as a staff person, please don't toss this on her and just expect her to turn and burn it. Normally, it working at a regional council before, I would ask for this like 6 months in advance. So please just be cognizant. She's a staff member.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got 51 community councils at our disposal. Some of these things were actually taken from other community councils and what they've currently implemented in the last year. So Alex has another question. Go ahead, Alex. Oh, you there?
It's past his bedtime.
Can you hear me?
There he is. There he is.
Am I there?
You are there.
Again, Charlie, you look great. No, listen, Kate, Charlie, Elishia, you guys are doing a big lift here, and I really appreciate it. I think if we keep tightening how our community engages, how we talk to each other, how we listen to what the needs are, in terms of all this stuff is important. It's a hard. I mean, we're in a transition neighborhood in a way that's phenomenal. So I appreciate it all. Let's keep moving forward as a team, as a group. That's how I look at it. We may have different opinions, we have different views, but I think in the end, we're here for a reason. We all moved here. So thank you, and let's keep moving forward. And hopefully we'll see some Shakespeare.
Yes.
There you go.
And I know, and Charlie could probably speak to it. I know Business Chamber is working on some similar language within their bylaws. Elishia has made reference to the fact that they've got an ethics clause within their organization. So it's something that we're all just trying to do to protect our organizations and our Madisonville as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gone in December, guys. So
Okay. One thing everybody needs to keep in mind, if you're a nonprofit, you got a bunch of ethics laws you just agreed to by being on a board.
Yep.
Fiduciary responsibility, that's being dictated at a much higher level than anything. You're just tightening it up, adding some language, making it a little more concise. But at the state level, and at the federal level, you're held to a standard regardless. So whether or not you want to believe it, it's there.
Yep. I know we've got the next newsletter coming out. One of the articles is actually going to be specific to the bylaws language. We're going to put it out there for the entire neighborhood to weigh in on, in the interest of transparency. So it's to make sure, like I said, that we're protecting, don't cry, Charlie. We're protecting all of our organizations going forward.
Yep.
We don't want to be that organization in the news. We don't want to be that neighborhood in the news for unethical behavior. So this is, I was actually surprised. I thought everybody was going to fight about the getting rid of one of the secretary positions. Clearly that is not the case.
Yeah. Thank heavens for small favors.
Amanda, were there any questions online or in the chat about this discussion or anything? We should have pivoted to you a while ago. I'm sorry.
No, I do not see anything written out here.
Okay.
Okay. That was all I had in terms of that for, I lost my agenda that fast.
right.
There's no other new business, any general body announcements? Anne's got her hand up again. Go ahead, Anne.
Thank you. It's not an announcement. Earlier something was said, I think by Charlie, about having the contact information or accessibility to the board on the website. Reminded me that the mobile website is not optimized. You can see the full website on a computer or an iPad, but there is a significant amount of information missing from when you look at our Madisonville on a mobile site, including there is no ability to see the minutes, which we talked about minutes, no ability to see the meeting notices or minutes or agendas or the officers and board members on the mobile website. So when next one talks to the IT people, that surely needs to be fixed. The officers and board members on the mobile website. So when next one talks to the IT people, that surely needs to be fixed.
Somebody's phone is wrecked.
You only had to say it once, Ann. We didn't have to hear it the second time.
I don't know what happened there. That wasn't me.
When you're recording meetings, then it goes on.
No, we're all good. We're all good,
You know,
Ann.
at my
We're in
age,
the
I
loop.
have to repeat. At my age, I have to repeat things a lot. Leave post-it notes all over the place. So now I'm doing it electronically. Damn.
I will put out a shameless plug for Amanda, who has tirelessly updated the website that we had.
Yay, Amanda. All right.
Well, I was just gonna say, I have, Anne, I hear you about the mobile site, and I think Wix has some great functionality, and then some functionality I think that maybe we don't totally use. So I'm gonna volunteer Kate to help me figure out. Some pages are hidden from the mobile view, so we will try to figure out why those are hidden, why others aren't. We definitely want people to be able to access the site on all platforms.
Amanda,
Yeah,
Amanda Gordon, because she is a whiz and got all that done for us like in no time. She's awesome.
I will definitely use her brain.
Yeah, and Amanda, I just wanted to add that even if it's just a header at the top of the one that's optimized for mobile phones, if there was just a header that said best viewed on an iPad, an iPad or a computer, then that would let heads up people to know that there's things that you can't see. Every time I asked you, where was something, it's because I was using my phone instead of my computer. So thank you for being so responsive to me and for taking care of a great website.
We're working there. It's work in progress. Appreciate it.
I need to find my 2 teenage volunteers that put it together for me like 3 years ago and get them to come back and fix stuff. So they left me. They went to college.
Hey, Kate, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
This is Terry. I wanted to address, my name keep coming up when I'm not on the phone. Well, I'm on the phone now. And I'd like to ask Mr. Smith when he has come to talk to me about this letter that I sent down to council. Where is he getting his information of why I actually did it? And how does he know that it's personal? Because he's never talked to me. No response?
No, I'm here. It's a record, a public record. It's in the city council. You sent a letter 4 or 5 years ago speaking on the behalf of the business council. And when I checked the business council, nobody knew that you had sent that letter. I have the letter. That's the letter.
Who is the person that you talked to? And did you
There's
come
no
and
person
talk
I
to me?
talked to, Terry. No person I
Did you
talked
come?
to. It's on
Did
the-
you come and
it's on the-
talk to me?
I'm not going to argue with you, Terry. It's on the council record. You can look it up.
I know.
Anybody else can look it up.
Look, don't treat me like I'm stupid. I sent it down there. I know it's on record. That's why we sent it. So what I suggest for you, Mr. Smith, if you have a problem with me, is to come and talk to me about it. It seems you pick these times when I am not online to kind of say, well, Terry Henry did that. Terry Henry did that. My board knew I did that. My board knew I did it. So I am very open. My number is 513-382-0888. If you have any more problems with me that you need to talk about, that you keep bringing them up in the council, it sounds like personal problems with you, with me, and I don't know you like that. And you certainly do not know me like that. And that goes for anybody else that's on the call. If you have anything to say with me, if I need to repeat my name, my number, email, let me know. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry. Were there any other general announcements? I know we had one from Glenda Smith. Amanda, do you want to pull that one up from the Q&A?
I can, but I have some really exciting news I just have to share with you guys. I figured out how to change the mobile site, okay?
Woo!
It's great.
That's great.
All right, so I totally have the fix in for the officers. I'll work on the rest of those hidden pages. Who knows why they're hidden, but I will go through, figured it out. Since at 10:30 at night on a Thursday. Yes. So you asked about Glenda, is that correct?
Yes, I know. I think she sent something to share as well. A flyer, maybe.
I did not get a flyer from her. I was wondering maybe she had sent that to you.
I did not.
We follow up with her on that.
We do have a general announcement from Beacon of Hope and Cincinnati Works. They're going to host a second chance job fair for people with criminal records on June 10th from noon to 4 at Washington Park. For more information, 513-744-9675, or you can go to cincinnatiworks.org. There are going to be 30 employers plus social services plus workforce developments. I will have Amanda share that information both on social media and in the chat this evening. If there are no other questions or general body announcements, we'll consider the meeting adjourned. We'll keep you posted on the next meeting, hopefully in person at the CRC. June, what day is that? June 17th, 7 p.m. We'll see you then.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Nice to see you.